Welcome into the Midday Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn hanging out with you. We have plenty of football to react to from this weekend. We'll have my Besides the Birds coming up at 11:30. Everything that stuck out to me this weekend in terms of the games coming up. We'll get into some of the Eagles conversation from over the weekend because I was disgusted by the way quarterback conversation went on across the NFL leading into Sunday and then what I watched on Sunday. And, of course, the Jaylen Carter discipline hearing is happening today. We will keep you updated with any notes that we have, anything we get in terms of news with that. And one more thing that we'll play later on this hour is one of the more obnoxious takes I've ever heard, and it came from Friday, and I know the morning show played it already. And speaking of the morning show, Andrew called this sanity week for the Phillies, and I want to begin the conversation today with the Phillies. My sanity does not necessarily rest on what happens on the field between the Phillies and Mets over the next 4 days. My sanity rests in what happens wherever Trey Turner is getting checked out by doctors today and whatever that MRI says. Because I'm going about my weekend, and you've got the football main screen. I had the Phillies Marlins. As much as I love the Phillies, you had already taken 2 in that series. Phillies Marlins, secondary, yeah, all right, yeah, you know. I know we're in the midst of a pennant race. It's the first weekend of football. Just kind of going about it. And then Trey Turner grabs at the leg. Doesn't even grab at the leg. He just honestly makes his way to the dugout. He stops, awkwardly moves with the leg, and then gets off the field and gets himself already given himself the hook in that game. And then immediately becomes, well, how bad is this? Because I go back and immediately I was taken back to when I was there last May when it was the other hamstring. I remember him coming off the field being like, oh, wow, looked weird. He didn't look like he was happy he scored a run there. Why'd he come out of the game? And that was last May 2024 when he had the left hamstring. Now, this time, he comes out of the game. They say he has a hamstring strain. And today we wait and wait and wait. And it reminds me a little bit of something we got into earlier. But let's hear from Trey Turner after the game talking about what happened.
Just kind of grabbing on me. Didn't feel good. Just felt like if, I could have kept going, I would have. Not get out of there and try to limit the damage.
Limit the damage. Not something encouraging to hear from your starting shortstop who's having his best season as a Philly and having one of the best seasons of anyone right now in the National League. Question, how long does this go? Because we saw last year when he had the hamstring, 6 weeks. If it's 6 weeks, there's a chance he's healthy by the time this team is already done their season. Obviously, there's the other reality of this where it's a short-term thing where we're talking about 10 days, 14 days. Even in that world, a little bit concerning for you while you battle for this second seed because the next 10 days pretty important with 4 games against the Mets. More important in the sense that it is a more difficult opponent, not necessarily that it is a team that can catch you. Obviously, the Dodgers come up next week. That's a part of this 10-day stretch going forward. But it worries me about the Trey Turner that you get now in your postseason stretch run. Because Turner, a year ago, coming back from the hamstring, was not dynamic on the base paths. He was very, very cautious in trying to run on the bases. That has been a huge part of what he's been this season for you. He's brought a dynamic to this team as this leadoff hitter, as a guy that can wreak havoc on the base paths, that if he is at all worried about that health going forward, or at least has that mental block in his head about his health going forward, when he gets back out there on the field, that's a different thing than what we've seen all season long for this team, and that worries me. Also, his mobility defensively, where he's actually become a very good defensive shortstop. So all this happens yesterday, and my sanity rests on what this MRI is. Because I sit here very concerned about, again, something we talked about about a week ago, I think, at this point. Bill Colarulo did the show where he was saying it was after the last Mets series. It's a toxic relationship between you and the Phillies. And I remember coming back from the holiday weekend where I was like, I thought a lot about over the weekend. The Phillies obviously had the great series against the Braves. They took the first one against the Brewers. And I was like, I don't know if it's necessarily toxic, but it's almost like the one that it never worked with, the one that got away type of deal, where you have that feeling of like, oh, if something had gone right here, or if something had gone right here, you might have been able to make it work. And this Turner, I'll say injury, this Turner situation, because I don't want to blow it up to something it's not before we fully know what it is. But what happened with Turner and his hamstring, this strain, to me, is another example of that, where I sit there yesterday, I'm like, oh, I can't just have the thought of this team being what it is. Everything following Zach Wheeler, they started to, again, find themselves. They have the Mets series. All right. After that, again, they have the Braves series. They have the Brewers series. They go down to Miami. They take the first two games. Like, wow, this team's played some really good baseball since that Mets series. This is really great. Then Sunday happens. It's not at all that they lost. They still took 2 of 3. They still have 4 games of the Dodgers for the second seed. But then Turner has the hamstring. And you're sitting there like, oh, it's just another thing working against this team that makes you keep thinking they've got the pieces here. But he's just going to be the one that gets away. And it's that nagging feeling for me every time I see something like this go wrong. I really see the upside. I see the narrow. I can squint and see the possibility for this team. But every time something like this happens, it drags me down to are they just not going to be the one to do it? And that's the negative outlook of what I end up seeing happening yesterday, just because of the uncertainty of his health, given that it took him 6 weeks the last time we had him with a hamstring strain, but also the way his game looked afterwards, where he was timid on the base paths, and you could tell there was a mental block in trying to be as dynamic running the bases as he was previously. That's the negative part to begin. The other side of this, the last time he got hurt, they did have a tremendous 6-week stretch. Sosa filled in tremendously in 2024. That is true. They were able to overcome it. They were able to get themselves in really good positioning early in that 2024 season. That is all very well and true. There's also the side of this that they have built themselves a nice cushion right now, that if there was a time for him to miss 10 days, right now, albeit against better opponents, not great timing, they could probably withstand it, because it's going to be difficult, given the rest of the schedule, for the Mets to overtake you, and certainly difficult for the Mets to overtake you, and difficult then for the Dodgers to overtake you for the second seed. So there might be at least a silver lining in that. To get to the solution-oriented part of this, what are they going to do for going forward with this? I need the Stars to step up once again. We are talking about a Mets series again, where it's very easy. We've gone to this well now 1 million times. June, before they played them 3 times here in Philadelphia. 2 weeks ago, before they played them up there at Citi Field. There's just one plea every single time for the Stars to show up. I need to see that Schwarber, they don't have a book on Kyle Schwarber that somehow no one else does, because he has not been able to hit them. I need to see, at this point, Harper do his thing up there against them, or down here in South Philadelphia, but do it against them, because they've been able to really, again, negate the stars of this Phillies team. I need the top of this lineup to make its money against them. JT Realmuto, even though he's cooled off, I need to see him doing his thing against them. Alec Boehm. This, again, goes back to the fact that their pitching has been able to put the best Phillies hitters at bay for a large part over the last year and a half, really, since they played them back there in London. Ever since then, Mets pitching 1, Phillies hitting 0. So that's the biggest thing you need in the here and now over the next 4 days against the Mets. But for the next however long that we get this Turner absence, I think your best bet is Stott every day. Ed Sosa, obviously, is the everyday shortstop. You're going to have to stop that platoon. I don't necessarily think bringing up Otto Kemp to be the right-handed bat that fits that side of the platoon for Stott is the best way to move forward. I understand, and I've been pretty loud about the fact that Stott's better as a platoon player, but I think that you have to realize what the other side of that platoon is, and he's better as a platoon player when that other side of the platoon is Sosa, who is also just a platoon player, and I'm worried about him being overexposed against righties, against what's been statistically probably the worst season of his career against right-handed pitching. But that's what you have to go with for the next 10 days. I think Otto Kemp is the move to make to bring him up. And I did like to see that Adam Miller make his way up to AAA, though I'm not going to be the one to advocate for that going forward. And one final thing for everyone here. The lineup, the way it should be constructed the rest of the way. Here's how I'm designing the top 4 of the lineup without Trey Turner in it. Schwarber, Realmuto, Harper, boom. Set it, forget it. The next 5, depending on righty, lefty, that's how I'm doing it. I get it. People don't love Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot. They won't want to see that happen. Here's the deal. If you end up putting Stott up there because you believe that he could be a leadoff hitter, what you're going to end up having is Schwarber, Harper, and Stott as 3 of the top 4, and that is just an absolute feast for a left-handed reliever. I understand Schwarber hits lefties well. Harper is Bryce Harper. That's going to make it very, very much too easy for a team to map out its bullpen against you. That's just kind of point blank the reason why I wouldn't do that. At the top of that lineup, Schwarber is what he is. The threat of being 1-0 every time you go into a game. And having JT second instead of Alec Boehm, I think gives you a little bit more athleticism out there on the base paths, gives you a little bit more at the top of the lineup, and it also leaves Boehm in a position where he's just been good in his career driving runners in. So leave him a little bit lower for that to happen, because that seems to be the best part of his value, batting somewhere in that 4 or 5 spot. That's how I'm dealing with the Turner injury, but I got to tell you, the immediate reaction to the Turner injury for me was, man, this just feels like the one that's slipping away from you again. And I'm hoping that I'm overreacting and that we get a clean bill of health, or at least a bill of health that tells me he's going to be back by the time October begins. Man, it disappointed me like to no end yesterday. I wanted to come in today and talk about all the football I watched. And I'm sitting there just with, and feels like the one's getting away again. How would you handle the Phillies in the wake of the Turner injury? And obviously, we wait to see how serious it is with the MRI today. You can get it on that 610-632-0975. And coming up next, something I heard that was just ridiculous in the way that the NFL could potentially handle the Jaylen Carter discipline situation. I made it clear Friday how I felt they should go forward. But if they factor this in that I heard over the weekend on CBS Sports, we might be talking about going to league offices. Sean Robin producing the show. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bowe, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Good to be back on this Monday morning here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn taking you through the midday show. And it was nice yesterday to be able to, even though I was in transit for part of Sunday, the phone makes it pretty easy. I got YouTube TV on the phone, rolling that. NFL Plus. For some reason, my subscription was gone, so I got Red Zone going on there. I was able to make the most of my Sunday of travels to make sure that I had just about all of the Red Zone action I needed, and then the individual games I was watching. If you had to guess the one game I watched most, Sean Robin, who's producing the show, what game do you think I was locked into the most?
Now, was this one that you went into the game being locked into the most, like before, or ended up happening later on?
Let's go with the day games, because I know everyone's going to say that, oh, yeah, you were locked into the, Sunday Night Football sitting on the plane was, of course, I was locked into. But the game that I went into most excited to watch.
Most excited to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, Packers-Lions.
Yeah,
as your
absolutely.
Packers fan, Jordan Love, we know
Fan of Jordan
stand.
Love, man. Fan of Jordan Love. Let's relax on that. Relax on the whole Packers. We'll get to that coming up a little bit later on the show, but it was good to have football back. One of the things that we got, and obviously, again, in the conversation we were having just then about the Phillies, Trey Turner, the news with him, how you would manage the Phillies in the wake of that, and does anyone else have that sneaking suspicion with me that every time you see something like this happen, you just kind of roll your eyes, and it's like, oh, it feels like it's slipping from you. It feels like it's slipping from you. And it is an overreaction from my part. I understand it's an emotional reaction from my part because I don't know yet the extent and the severity of what Trey Turner suffered yesterday with his hamstring, but it is ultimately something that, again, just is another, chip at the old armor that you got going on. You get it at that 610-632-0975. CBS Sports, I'm kind of more scrolling the old Bird app before the games yesterday, and I saw Jonathan Jones, who is one of the senior insiders in the NFL for the NFL on CBS. He was reporting on the disciplinary hearing that's supposed to happen today for Jaylen Carter. And he went into a lot of the different factors that might end up playing a role in whether or not Carter gets suspended, because obviously Schefter reporting there's a chance for a suspension. I know Pro Football Talk was saying that the hearing was today, and the NFL wants to take sportsmanship seriously. It wants to deal in these circumstances to make sure there's a precedent set. And it's always difficult for the first guy because usually they want to make an example of what happens. But speaking of examples, take a listen to what Jonathan Jones says might factor in to the suspension decision, whether or not to suspend Jaylen Carter today.
What could be held against Jaylen Carter are the actions of the Florida Gators defensive player Brendan Bett on Saturday, where he spit on a USF player in the closing moments of that game. Because what the NFL is going to say is, we are the guys who set the standard. And this bad sportsmanship that we continue to, right there on the right, as we continue what the NFL will say to emphasize the sportsmanship, is that bad habits and bad sportsmanship trickles down to lower levels. Well, we saw Jaylen Carter on Thursday spit on an opponent, and then on Saturday, a Florida Gator spit on an opponent. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that will be held against Jaylen Carter. That did not help his case.
Wrong. If you are going to punish Jaylen Carter because some 20-year-old kid was too dumb to realize that the game he watched 2 nights ago, the guy got ejected for spitting on his opponent and then did it himself, that's wrong. That's a moronic thing to put into the equation. If that is truly what the NFL is going to do, you want to say, well, Jaylen Carter spit on a player Thursday night, got ejected, and someone at Florida was then like, you know what? Here's a really great idea. What he did to get himself kicked out of the game, I'm going to do to my opponent. That would be really awesome. That would be really smart. That'll really help us win. You know that penalty he picked up? I should pick it up in one of the biggest parts of the game. That would be really good. That's going to show my coaches I watch the NFL for the right reason. It's not as if all of a sudden there was like this onslaught of spitting at a young level of football where kids were like, yeah, that's the way you treat your opponent. That's right. Disrespect the crap out of them. No, it was one idiot on Florida that mimicked the actions of a dumb decision that Jaylen Carter made. You know why he did it? Because he was caught in the heat of battle. He did the same thing that Carter did where he wasn't thinking. If he watched Thursday night and thought, oh, hey, yeah, that seems to be okay. What happened to Jaylen Carter when he did? Oh, he's only ejected and there was a penalty? I'll be fine to do it. He's an idiot. It shouldn't be Jaylen Carter's fault then that kid doesn't have the line of thinking to think, hey, maybe don't do that. Look what happened to him. The NFL set the example. Someone failed to realize the example that was being set. The guy got thrown out and got penalized. It wasn't as if this went just totally unpunished, and then the kid was like, I could get away with that. No, the kid should have known what the repercussions would be because the NFL already gave you the repercussions on one side. If that is truly how they're going to try to rule on this one, I've already had my problems with the NFL and the rulings before, but it's another moronic move by that organization. You can't hold Jaylen Carter responsible for a kid on Florida and the decision-making that he has, especially when that kid was able to see the full repercussions and still decided to do what he did. It wasn't like, ooh, they let him get away with it. I'll probably get away with it. That's so dumb if you want to play this into the equation. There are other things that you could play into the equation here, as in what other things happened to the NFL this weekend that would require punishment that might not get punished. That would be something that you play into the equation. Or is there any other circumstances where we've seen this before? This is not something that we put in the equation here. This is a college kid acting independently of what Jaylen Carter did. And if he acted really because he was inspired by what Jaylen Carter did, then he's an idiot because he saw what happened to Jaylen Carter and he was playing in a big-time moment in that game. And he hurt his team. And he got ejected. So please, spare me with the NFL is going to try and look at the impact of what Jaylen Carter's done. He made a mistake. He owned up to the mistake afterwards. We talked about it on Friday, how he had to be more professional moving forward. There is no way and in no reason that he should be held to the actions of that kid at Florida. And that should impact whether or not he should be suspended. Which, by the way, he's already missed an entire game. He's going to get docked a lot of money. It's happened. Move forward at this point. I don't think he should be suspended, truthfully. I certainly didn't think the Eagles should handle that in-house that way, but I didn't think that he should be suspended. He missed an entire game. He owned up to it post-game. Move on. That's kind of where I'm at. His pockets should be a lot lighter, but I think we're fine here at this point. Now, while we're reacting to things that were said on the national stage, an absolute scorcher on Friday from Fox Sports 1. The Eagles, who started their season 1-0, officially are not going back to the Super Bowl. At least that's what one hot take artist wants you to believe. I'm Ray Down. I'm taking you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Trey Turner left yesterday's game early. I'm Sean Rodman, and Turner left the game in the 7th inning of the Phillies' loss to the Marlins with a hamstring injury. Here is Turner talking to the media after the game.
Just kind of grabbing on me. Didn't feel good. Just felt like if, I could have kept going, I would have. Not get out of there and try to limit the damage.
Turner will have an MRI today to determine the severity of his injury. Phillies are back in action at home tonight against the Mets. Phillies currently sit 7 games up in the division heading into the series. Aaron Nola gets the start for the Phils and Nolan McLean for the Mets. First pitch is at 6:45. No news yet on Jaylen Carter's punishment from the NFL. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, a decision could be announced as soon as today. The Eagles are working out former Bengals cornerback Mike Hilton, according to Jordan Schultz. Nick Sirianni is also scheduled to speak to the media at 3:15 today, and we'll carry that live for you right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update is brought to you by Bet365. Football is back. Get ready for the season at Bet365. When it comes to sportsbooks, Bet365 has it all. Download the app today and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Welcome back. Midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn taking you through it. It was, I've mentioned a couple times now, just the joy of being able to watch some Week 1 football. The joy of being able to watch Week 1 football when your team's 1-0, and you can kind of just let everyone else's problems eat at them, work away. It was even better that Friday, I made my way down to Coastal Carolina, visit my sister for family weekend. Had a great time. Was watching that game Friday night, which, by the way, out on the YouTube thing. I like not our YouTubers. I love our YouTubers. Much love to all of you and to our YouTube page. But the YouTube football game, Sean Rodman, no thanks.
Yeah, no, thanks. I mean, I don't know if it was just me from where I was, but at points I was having trouble just getting connection.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily even that or like. And again, it's nothing against the Mr. Beast, the other
can do without that
content creators that I don't know. Because like I would bet if Mr. Beast sat down and listened to this program, he'd be like, well, this stinks. Like, I just don't think we are meant to be in the same arena. That's kind of what I'm saying here. Like, I don't need that at my football game. You know?
I would agree. I didn't fully understand the sideshow, the cannon shot.
I'm just curious. How many more people tuned into the NFL because they had Mr. Beast as compared to the number of people that muted their televisions because they were subjected to Mr. Beast?
I would think it's probably more people muted than people tuning in.
We're not tuning out, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
That's we're not going to stop watching football because we need our fix. But Friday night, I'm enjoying watching that game, and Justin Herbert had himself a heck of a game. So for all you Herbert people out there, congratulations on a big night for you, Week 1. For about 48 hours, he was the Week 1 MVP, and that was pretty cool to watch. But what was great for me was Friday. I got out of here, and I'm rushing to get to the airport. I'm making my way through everything, trying to get through. By the way, flight to Myrtle Beach. The number of people that were wheeled to that flight, and then once we got to Myrtle Beach, were perfectly fine walking off that flight. I got questions. I got questions for all you trying to get through the airport. I see you all trying to get the little wheelchair access to the airport, and then you were fine. I was helping some of the old folks with to get the bags off the luggage chair because I felt bad, but I was like, a lot of people got premium entrance to that plane that were perfectly fine by the time we got down. They got to the warm weather, all of a sudden, joints were all
loosens
good.
The bones up, loosens the joints up.
All of a sudden, wait a second. Is that a golf bag you're pulling off of there? You tell me you couldn't make it you were going to play full 18 this weekend? All right, whatever. But as I was in my transit, I saw this clip from Nick Wright, and it had to make me laugh because he had this to say following the Eagles losing. No, the Eagles winning their first game of the season. See, when I heard him talk, I forgot the Eagles 1-0.
I thought I was probably going to be higher on them this year than I had been any year in the past. And I know it's going to seem reactionary, but through one game, I have seen enough. That team is not getting back to the Super Bowl. And when it starts to go sideways and it starts to look like, oh yeah, they're not quite the same team, you know what's going to be said? Should have seen it coming.
Huh. It's interesting, and we're going to get to see today because I know that I'm sure I'll see whatever he had to react to with the Chiefs on Friday. But then his boys down in KC end up losing in Brazil, go 0-1. So I would imagine if your logic is consistent, you would have to say the same thing about the Chiefs, no? Now, especially because we're looking at an Eagles team, and we talked around here locally about the patience, about what it takes to be patient. They started 2-2 last year. It didn't always look pretty. Those first. You think after week 3, after they snuck by that Saints team, we were all sitting here anointing them as Super Bowl contenders? You think after they snuck by the Browns in that 5th game of the season last year, after the bye, we were all sitting here anointing them as Super Bowl contenders? No.
I would say no.
Exactly, Donovan. You know exactly what I'm talking about. That, to me, listen to Nick Wright talk, is the perfect example of just trying to grab a Philadelphia audience and upset it. And it worked because I played it here. He did a tremendous job of upsetting me. But I want to hear from people on what you really were able to reassess from Thursday night. You've had time to think now. I don't, and you've had time to watch the rest of the league. You got to watch Friday night. The team you played the Super Bowl lost week 1. You got to watch on Sunday as the team that was your biggest threat in the NFC, in the Detroit Lions last year, lose to the Green Bay Packers in a pretty dominating way. What have you been able to reassess about the Eagles' chances? Because for me, the biggest thing that came from this weekend, I felt like I was pretty spot on when I came to the point that I thought the Packers were going to be a legitimate competition for you. I felt pretty good about that. This weekend made me feel even more certain about that. I don't think that they are at the Eagles' level yet because part of what I've wanted to see from Jordan Love, while I am a fan of the guy, I've wanted to see more consistency, and I think their season hinges on him being consistent, and I can't say consistency has been delivered there in week 1. I have to see that over a period of time. So I can't put that team yet on the Eagles' standard. I look at the rest of the NFL. Out in the AFC, you have 2 very formidable teams that played last night. That I think it has to be one of their turns to win the AFC. It really does. I think that has to be one of their turns to win the AFC. Like, I get it. The Chiefs thing might never end, but I think it has to be one of their turns to win it. And from the Eagles' perspective, as I continue to get further away from Thursday night, I continue to feel better about what I saw from my quarterback. And I continue to feel more concerned about what I felt about Thursday night, the back end of that defense. Those are the 2 biggest things I took from Thursday night. I'll be honest with you, we did a little bit more on Patullo, I think, Friday than I anticipated us doing. And the more I see how much Hurts put on his shoulders in that game, the more it makes me feel like maybe I was a little bit too much praise towards the offensive coordinator in a game where I think the quarterback did a lot more than he probably should have to with all these weapons in this offense. But I think those are the 2 biggest things for me from an Eagles perspective, and the 2 biggest things from a league perspective. There was only one team in the NFC that I really said, okay, that team looks like it has a chance to be around the Eagles stratosphere. And there are 2 teams out in the AFC that I think one of them is going to have their time this year and going to be able to do it. I think the Bills are going to be hosting the AFC Championship game. Now, will it matter? Who knows? You know, I haven't seen them or the Ravens be able to do it and get past the Chiefs and get themselves to a Super Bowl. So I don't know if it'll matter. But those are the biggest things I took away. You listen to Nick Wright. Throw that overreaction at you. Give me your overreaction from week 1 in the NFL at 610-632-0975. Coming up, I mentioned that quarterback play. How about the quarterback play around the NFL this weekend? And when it's not one game happening standalone, it can kind of get lost. Let's take a look at the performances we liked, we didn't like, compared to the guy here locally. Because That was another thing that bothered me. My weekend. How many times am I going to open up this app to someone ripping Jalen Hurts for no reason? How many times am I going to have a conversation with, well, he only threw for 153. What are you watching, man? I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Eagles quarterback
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, let's get to the text line. I've given out a couple things early on here at 610-632-0975 to get you to chime in on here, but I want to get to the text line here in a minute. Hello. Happy Monday morning to you. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. I enjoyed the weekend. I realized I've had now like a run here where I haven't really been in the city for the weekend and quite a bit. Like I get to that point where it's like my roommates see me on Monday morning. It's like, hey, man, long time. You know, first time, long time. Long time roommate, first time seeing you in a good minute. At the trip this weekend, Obviously, I've brought it up a couple times. I was very excited. I was good. I had not been down there to see like my sister's college town, so to be like able to go see it was pretty cool. Totally understand why people would choose Coastal Carolina as a school. Pools, like the weather, how close you are to the beach, how close you are to just like a beach. Like it's basically like, hey, if you wanted to be like Sea Isle City to be like your college town. Maybe that's a bad example. Like it's
a little bit warmer year round.
Right, that's what I mean. But like I'm walking around like the pier down at Surfside down there, and I'm like, yeah, I could see why people choose this. You don't have classes Friday? Yeah. Okay, I understand why you're out here all the time. I understand why you're out here enjoying the shore. Like, makes a lot of sense. But with the good weekend, I hope everyone else had a good weekend out there. And it was a good weekend just to sit, especially Sunday. Like, even like I said, I was in transit. When I was sitting there at the airport getting ready to go, just watching Lions-Packers on the TV, had the phone going with the Red Zone, getting the pieces of the show sheet together. I was excited just to get back here and get moving, especially because there's a lot I want to jump into. We're going to get to the Phillies a little bit more coming up in the 11 o'clock hour with the big series this week. But let's get to the text line on what we've got. Robin, what do we got right now cooking on our text line?
All right, let's start with the Phillies. It's a couple lineups that people want to see. One person checking in saying, put Bader up in the 2-hole.
So, listen, you know I'm a big fan of Harrison Bader. Which, by the way, hey, this guy just keeps having his moments. He went viral for not at all his reasons over the weekend. We'll get to that coming up at the 11 o'clock hour, too, where that pitch was right down the middle. He drilled that one out to left field. And he just had kind of big hit after big hit. But I like him in more of a low-leverage lineup spot. The only way I can explain it is that if you go look at the number of times this season he's hit from like 1 to 5, they're very limited. I know people hate the comfortability factor, like, well, guy should be able to hit wherever a guy should hit. And yes, but given how much I've invested in the top of the order guys here, I'd rather them give a chance for JT to get that second spot. I understand some people are going to say Bohm just because of the way he puts the ball in play. I would cynically love to watch a 1-2 of Schwarber and Bohm just for the fact that their speed is the exact opposite of a 1 and 2 that you would expect across baseball traditionally. I would still lean JT at 2. I understand why, with the production you've seen from Harrison Bader, put him up at that second spot. Maybe that's the way they go. I just think he's been so good at a lower leverage spot in the lineup that I'm not necessarily messing with where he's at in the order. If they feel comfortable throwing him strikes, let them still feel comfortable throwing him strikes.
All right, let's move on to the NFL here. And this is John from Pendale saying, if the NFL was worried about the message to young college players, then they would not employ coaches that violate NCAA rules and crush programs.
Who was that?
That was John from Pendale.
John, shout out to you. That's fantastic. I'm all for a good Harbaugh shot. And he's not the only one, but, like, come on.
Urban Meyer.
Yeah. Well, Urban Meyer. He got up and out of college, and he caused his own problems up in the pros, too. He didn't move too far from college. All right, what else we got on that text line?
All right, let's go to the overreaction. One overreaction saying, Steelers are going to be a force, the Lions stink, and McDaniels in Miami is cooked. Although that one may not be as much of an overreaction.
Oh, no, he's cooked. He's cooked. He's beyond cooked. We're going to get that. Besides the Birds coming up at 11:30, we're going to take you through the 5 games I wanted to highlight from this weekend. Yeah, he's beyond cooked. What was the beginning of that text again? Sorry, the McDaniels cook thing took over for me.
The Steelers are going to be a force, and the Lions stink.
Yeah, okay, so both overreactions. I don't necessarily believe the Lions stink, but I will say, those of us that have been waiting for the Jared Goff, is this guy actually legit moment, very good weekend for us. Very good weekend for us. With the Goff, when he doesn't have McVay or Ben Johnson, I think I saw he was like 0-19-1 with other play callers.
That was put out on Twitter. Andrew, I believe on the morning, kind of said it was like 3-18-1 though.
Oh,
so still not good.
Great. All right, so he got 3 wins without those 2 guys. Goff has the tools to do it. I don't necessarily know if he could do it without the play caller. That's all I'm saying. So I'm just putting that out there. And the Steelers going to be a force. I'll buy it in October. Get me to October with this team. Actually, It's hard for me to buy the Steelers as a force just because I've seen them get out to strong starts with Tomlin over the last 5 years where they have close to double-digit wins and hardly any losses, and then they slide November, December religiously. I got a text from my buddy who's a Steelers fan. I'm in. And I was like, oh, no, don't do it to yourself again. I've watched you do this into November multiple times. Please, don't hurt yourself like this again. But Aaron Rodgers, as a piece of this conversation, as a piece of the dialogue here for quarterback play over the weekend, Rodgers had himself a game. Justin Herbert had himself a game. Justin Fields, tremendous game. Daniel Jones, a tremendous game. But some of the guys that we talk about in that tier 2, because I think, and even tier 1, because I've been pretty clear. I think there's a top 4 hierarchy in the NFL. Mahomes, Burrow, Jackson, and Allen. Allen, I think, is your week 1 MVP at this point, given the performance that happened last night. Lamar Jackson also looked tremendous last night in that game. He took one bad sack. They're still able to get a field goal off of it. And I think they should have went for it on 4th and 2. I'll say it. I'll be as bold to say it. They were not stopping Josh Allen.
And that's typically what Harbaugh does. Is they go for those.
I was surprised. You've got Derrick Henry. You've got Lamar Jackson. I'm taking my chances with those two guys, causing some havoc and picking up 2 yards. Stroud. So outside of that, though, so I liked what I saw from Allen, Jackson. Obviously, what Herbert did. Rodgers, Fields, Jones, Geno Smith had a good game, but some of the other guys that you would put kind of in that tier 2 around Hurts. Burrow, I saw his stat line flying around a ton because they did beat the Browns, but he threw for 113 and a touchdown. C.J. Stroud, his team put up just 9 points. Jared Goff, 13 points for his team. A lot of what he got garbage time stuff because they were just trying to come back against the Packers after being dominated early. Matt Stafford's team only put up 14. And it begs the question. We're not going to see today the level of reaction to those performances, that level of production, nationally or locally, the way you would when Hurts throws for 153, runs for another 60, has a total, ended up being a total 2-3 touchdowns in that game. When you again look at the production for those guys and their teams, because that's ultimately the quarterback's job, get them into the end zone, score points, win games. And for Burrow, the lack of passing yards there. Why isn't it there? Why isn't that same energy kept there? Is it because right now the Eagles are hot and everyone wants to take a shot? Is it because Hurts has just kind of this jealousy factor of the way he moves around, the fact that he's won, and you want to say, hey, my favorite quarterback could do that if he had X? Because I go back and watch that game again, and like I said, I still come away very impressed with Hurts because it felt like everything fell kind of on his shoulders to do it. And I just want to understand why that energy is not there for some other guys after 1 week. Because you could say, well, Hurts has to prove. What does Hurts have to prove compared to some of these other guys? What has Stroud done? Goff, I say it all the time. If Goff put up that Super Bowl performance he did for the Rams here in Philadelphia, he would have been relentlessly gone after for the rest of his career. Stafford's got a ring as well, but everyone. I remember seeing lists this summer. Hey, man, he's ahead of the Super Bowl. Burrow, I think he's ahead of Hurts, but we're going to keep the same energy of Burrow when he has a game like that. Especially when he can't impact the game with the legs the way that Jalen Hurts does when he only throws for 113. People are saying, he could never win a game where Jamar Chase only has 2 catches or only has 1 catch the way A.J. Brown did. I don't know if you go look at those stat lines. He very much did win a game that way this weekend. Just saying, I think we have to keep it even here when we're talking about all the quarterbacks. Keep it even with the conversation surrounding these quarterbacks. Some guys will want to know. Didn't necessarily put on 1-0 performances. And how much is it just people that want to go look at the box score against Hurts instead of looking at the actual game itself? Because I feel like that's also a big conversation that we have with this. Coming up, look it up next for the Phillies. I'm going down there tonight. Is there a moment to meet for this team with this Mets series? Are we still there after the stretch the Phillies have had since that Mets series and the stretch that the Mets have had since that matchup with the Phillies? We'll get to that coming up next. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Trey Turner left yesterday's game early. I'm Sean Rodman, and Trey Turner left the game in the 7th inning of the Phillies' loss to the Marlins with a hamstring injury. Here is Turner talking to the media after game about the injury.
Just kind of grabbing on me. Didn't feel good. Just felt like if, I could have kept going, I would have. Get out of there and try to limit the damage.
Turner will have an MRI today to determine the severity of his injury. Phillies are back in action tonight at home against the Mets. Phillies currently sit 7 games up in the division heading into the series over the Mets. And Aaron Nola gets a start for the Phils tonight, and Nolan McLean for the Mets. First pitch is at 6:45. No news yet on Jaylen Carter's punishment from the NFL. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, a decision could be announced as soon as today. The team is working out Bengals cornerback Mike Hilton, according to Jordan Schultz. And Nick Sirianni is scheduled to speak to the media at 3:15 today. We'll carry that live for you right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Sean Rodman, and this update is brought to you by Bet365. Football is back. Get ready for the season at Bet365. When it comes to sportsbooks, Bet365 has it all. Download the app today and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Station broadcasting live from the possibilities. I'm Ray Dunn taking you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And Rahman, I got a bit of a situation going on this season.
What's up?
And we're going to get to the Phillies, and this opens up our Phillies conversation here. We will get to the phones in a second here at 610-632-0975. I have my softball playoffs this evening that begin.
Oh, no.
6 o'clock start. I've got the Phillies ticket. The issue is it's only going to run about an hour. Like, this is not high competitive. I am not in some crazy men's league where someone's throwing 80 miles per hour. All right? This is Heyday, which I love our times at Heyday. Wonderful time. It's an hour-long game. Phillies game starts at 6:45. The issue there, obviously, we're going to be late. But the bigger issue is Aaron Nola's going tonight. Is there a chance by the time I get in the car tonight to get down to the game that this one's over?
That's a very fair possibility, especially with McLean on the mound, too.
Would I be wrong if we get in the car and realize Nola's allowed 5 first-inning runs before recording it out to just get out of the car and walk back to my apartment?
I think it also depends on if the Phillies get up to bat at that point. Because we have seen one of Nola's starts where
I was there.
He lets up the first inning.
I was there. He allowed 3 runs against the Braves, and then the most beautiful game of history broke out where Kyle Schwarber had 4 home runs, and the Phillies just went nuts. And I watched Bader just fall short of the cycle. And it was a great game.
Oh, so you're saying you're going to drive down to the game, so you're going to have to pay for parking as well?
No. You know the person that tried me down there. He's not paying for parking.
Fair. I didn't know that person was involved.
He's got his spot. Yeah, we're good. We're good. He's not paying for parking.
Because that was factoring in for me as well. If you're going to have to pay for parking, but now obviously you don't. But I would still probably head down to the game.
I mean, let's be honest.
You're still
it's
going
me.
to.
It's probably going to be me. But would I be wrong? I want to get from the people at 610-632-0975. Chime in on the text line. You've watched Aaron Nola pitch this season, okay? If I were to get in the car, turn the game on, and hear that it's already 4 or 5-0, would I be wrong to just get out of the car and go back to the apartment? That's what I want to hear from people. 610-632-0975. Is that wrong to have that little faith?
I think 4 or 5 is too low of a number. I think it needs to be higher for you to not go to the game.
Okay. All right. So
if Aaron Nola lets up 6 runs plus.
How far into South Philadelphia do I have to be if we get to the bottom of the second and it's like 6-7-0 to turn around? Like once I get past Market Street, I think I have to go.
Probably.
Yeah. All right.
Market Street's fair.
Market Street's fair. All right. Before we get to the phones here, because I see we got some people holding, I want to get to them. Is there a moment to meet for this team in this series? I still believe there is. Just because I think I need myself to see them actually beat the Mets. I don't necessarily know if I believe tonight's going to be night, given the fact that I just laid out for you that Nola's pitching and McLean looked tremendous the last time these two teams matched up, and it's looked tremendous in his young career. You have a 7-game lead in the division. The division is in hand at this point. You basically have to avoid being the 2007 Mets. You have to avoid being the 1964 Phillies. You have to avoid historic level collapse to not win this division, which is why I don't really need you to dominate them to make me feel better. Give me a split. Give me 2. I need you to continue to keep this back and forth with the Dodgers, so I can't just say I don't care what happens in this series. I think you need 2. I need to see a split. I'd like to really just see the big bats do their thing, but I'm not I think there is still a moment for them to meet. This is still kind of like that marquee series for you there's also been that boogeyman type thing with them where it's like this team has been able to have your number every single time. I understand you won a series against them back in June at home. Doesn't do a ton for me when I've watched you get swept both times you went up to Citi Field. Give me a split, and I think I'll be okay. Am I being too lenient here? You could tell me at 610-632-0975. I think there still is a moment to meet. I just don't necessarily think I'm going into this one the way I went into New York, like, get me something. I need to see you just split here. Just give me a nice 2. And hopefully, honestly, the way things are going for the Padres, hopefully the Mets go get that 5. You hold on to the 2, and we don't have to worry about talking about seeing it. That's kind of where I lay with this whole thing. Let's go to the phone lines here and talk to Greg in Bethlehem who wants to get in on the conversation. Greg, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Morning, guys. Without looking at the All-22, I wondered if the wonderful runs by Jalen Hurts were a reflection of the offensive line breaking down or receivers not getting open, forcing him to run. I mean, he had a great game. He responded to the opportunities. Without looking at the All-22, it's kind of hard to know because they didn't look like they were designed runs, most of them. So I'm just curious about that. I don't know that there's an answer unless you're looking at the tape, but
yeah. So, and this is more from people that I respect that go into the All-22 and break it all down. A lot of conversation of the soft zone that they were running, and the fact that there wasn't just a lot for them to take beyond a couple yards down the field. That ended up being like Hurts read, okay, they're in this zone. Am I going to be able to fit into this tight window, or am I just going to be able to take the ball down and run with it and make this play and survive to see another? Or am I going to just get it out, to someone a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, let them try and make a man miss or two, and then live to see another down? I think that's more what you got from why he was running so much and why he ended up making the decisions he did. I think it was more just taking what was in front of him and unfortunately giving you more of a boring type offense chugging on down the field.
Well, do you think that was a reflection of Patullo not scheming the receivers open?
And I think Greg, that's kind of where I'm curious, because we came in here Friday and immediately I was like, well, look at how that offense ran early and the way they were able to get themselves moving, And I think what you lay out there is a good question of, were they not schemed open, or did the Cowboys just throw so many good looks at you defensively in that soft zone that they might have just outdid you in that fact? Like, maybe they weren't schemed open, and that's a problem for Patullo, and maybe that's something we're going to look at in a couple weeks. Like, all right, this passing offense hasn't found its rhythm. That's a little bit concerning. That's why I came back a little bit earlier when we talked about my takeaways, about the praise that we had for Patullo Friday. When you go back and relook at this game, one of the things that stuck out to me is how much, again, I think Hurts put on his shoulders for them to keep moving offensively, which makes me believe that whatever looks they had, he wasn't comfortable with the amount of open space there was. I know there was the stat floating around about how A.J. Brown didn't win a ton and didn't get himself a ton of separation. Like, there's a chance that they did not do enough in getting those receivers open. So I would say that plays into it. You also got to give credit to the Cowboys and the other side of things. I think there are some things, they'll throw the whole cliche, we got some stuff to clean up, and you'll hear from Sirianni today. By the way, Sirianni, speaking during Colarulo's show. Yeah, nice, real nice.
Interesting.
Yeah, yep, 3:15. Sirianni will speak. Wow, he's scheduled to speak at 3:15. If he's on time for Colarulo, so help me. So help me if he's on time for that presser today. Because I'll lose my mind if he's on time for Unfiltered, and we have to sit here for I'm going to delay my presser 30 minutes. Crap. Just know, there will be a segment tomorrow on if it happens. But I think that there is a question of how well how good they did in terms of getting guys open just schematically against that Cowboys defense, because it did look like there was not a lot to take. And they got guys open short range, but they did not really get anything in that next level, that mid-tier throws. It was really just like, oh, here's Goddard underneath. Let's get to Goddard. So I'm curious to see that going forward. I want to reset the show coming up where we started with Trey Turner. I also want to address the most viral moment of this weekend in Philadelphia sports. We'll get to that coming up at 11 o'clock, and I know some people want to chime in on the Jaylen Carter situation, so we also will get to that as we await whether or not there will be any discipline for him with regards to, of course, the spitting incident on Thursday night. I'm Ray Dunn, taking to the Midday Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
It's completely inexcusable.
It's despicable.
It's despicable behavior. Anybody who spins it any other way, I got to tell you,
Go Birds against the Cowboys.
I got to tell you, I have no time for anybody who tries to spin it as I have a gentleman on social media. You spit on me, I spit on you. He didn't get spit on. Yeah. In fact, he didn't get spit within 2 yards of him. When Dak spit, which he did, by the way, he did. And he definitely was trying to bait Jaylen Carter. By the way,
in that direction.
By the way, 1-0 Dakota.
Right.
Because Dakota got exactly what he wanted.
Sure.
He baited a hothead, and the hothead bit. That spit is 2 yards from Jaylen Carter. He didn't spit on Jaylen Carter. No. So stop it. Stop spinning it as if, oh, well, you spit on me, I'm spitting on you. That's a bunch of crap. You don't spit on another human being. There's no excuse for it.
No.
And no one should make an excuse. And by the way, for our fan base, I'm very proud of our fan base because I think the vast, vast, vast majority, nobody's making any excuse for Jaylen Carter.
The reason why they were able to run the ball pretty well yesterday was because Jaylen Carter did not play a single snap on defense. And we are going to obviously talk about the highs of last night's game and not just focus on the lows or focus on the bad things. But, John, that's something that just can't happen. Knowing what this defense is, or necessarily not knowing what this defense is, but we do know some of the key players. We know that Jaylen Carter is a beast. We know how good Quinyon Mitchell can be. We know how consistent a guy like Zach Bond can be following last year. We saw a rise in Jihad Campbell where a lot of people told us we should be excited for him. But when you're missing one of those key guys, the questions that surround the defense, they get highlighted more. So when you're not getting to the quarterback, like the edge rusher depth that I was concerned about, takes a hit when Jaylen Carter's not out there, it then gives your quarterback or the opposing quarterback in Dak Prescott more time to make throws. And when your secondary has question marks, like Adoree Jackson, like Sidney Brown, who did not start yesterday, it puts them even more under a spotlight. And when it doesn't go well, you realize how much of an absence Jaylen Carter was. And once you start doing things over and over and over again, what do the referees do? They look for it.
They do.
And so maybe last night, totally different circumstances with the Spitgate, but there will be referees moving forward going, all right, that's the guy that we have to pay attention to. Is he going to do something stupid? As Jim Schwartz once said about Nigel Bradham many years ago when he was the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, when you continue to do dumbass things, pretty soon you'll be labeled a dumbass. And that's exactly what Kevin Patullo and Jalen Hurts did yesterday. Maybe more so Jalen Hurts. He's the guy that's on the field. When he found a running lane, he took it. 14 carries, 62 yards, 2 touchdowns. And no, they weren't tush-push touchdowns. So for all the people outside of Philadelphia that just call him a tush-push touchdown merchant, he did it with his legs yesterday in impressive ways. 19 of 23.
Welcome back in. 97.5 The Fanatic Midday Show. I'm Ray Dunn taking you through it. Love catching up with you. After like a weekend without the YouTube chat, feel like catching up with them is a very important thing. And right now we're talking about the receivers not getting open, and obviously some people are speculating on the health of A.J. Brown. And just like, he had that hamstring issue through training camp. Did that impact him week 1? And we got a wonderful dialogue going on just how bad a pulled hamstring feels. Just the pure pain of it. Have you ever had that happen to you, Sean Rob?
The hamstring?
Hamstring.
Not hamstring. No. I mean,
No.
I've had tighten hamstrings, but that'll bother you over time, but not where you come up limping.
Yeah.
Anything.
I did.
Not
did.
fun.
Back in my running heyday, you know? So, like, real tough guy, runner. Anything that could also get me out of practice was a good thing. So, like, when that happened the first time, anytime that I felt like it, any tighten up, I kind of pulled what Turner did. I was like, yo, come get me. Like, I'm out. That was always like because it happened my, I guess, freshman, sophomore year, one of the two, when I was in high school. And that was real, like where I felt it go. And I was like, it's because I didn't believe in stretching. And like at that age, you shouldn't stretch. Like, well, you should always stretch. But like, you can get away with it.
Right.
That's the funniest thing about growing up playing softball more is like just the number of guys that have to stretch at this point. It's like we weren't stretching 5 years ago when we were playing on this team. Now all of us show up to a heyday game in the shirts and everybody's stretching out, trying to make sure that nobody goes home hurt. It's only going to get worse. But ever since then, like I've been terrified of feeling that pain again because I felt it once. And like the hamstring thing for me was like just walking with the straight leg, not like really being able to do anything with it. Horrifying. So everyone's sharing their hamstring memories of when theirs went. And that also leads us into the Trey Turner conversation from over the weekend. Because that happens yesterday, and my immediate reaction is, oh, no. No, don't do this. Don't do this to me again. This is going to happen again to me. This is going to happen again. So we'll reset that conversation coming up here. But I know Darren's been hanging on wanting to get into the Jaylen Carter spitting incident on Thursday night. Darren, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Yeah, what I wanted to say, basically, what does Jaylen Carter spitting have to do with a college player from Florida spitting? Because that's in college and Jaylen Carter's in the NFL. Why would they base any decision on what a college player did?
So the CBS Sports insider, Jonathan Jones, who covers the NFL, basically said the NFL is going to weigh a ton of factors in their decision. One of the factors that he said, and I imagine because he's in the know that he believes this is something that's actually being discussed at the NFL level, is the impact of we are trying to be stewards of the game. We are trying to be the ones that show the best example of football. And 48 hours after Jaylen Carter's ejected for spitting, there's another incident. This happens in college. Is there a chance that we are having a poor impact on the game, that Jaylen Carter's having a poor impact on the game? If you heard me react to it, I think I'm on the side that you are with the two should have nothing to do with one another. If anything, it's just even more of a poor reflection on the kid from Florida who clearly didn't learn from the lesson that Jaylen Carter was served on Thursday night.
Right. I don't think they should base it on anything with college, but and the NFL is being too hard on people for taunting. They're really taking that, a little bit too far.
Oh, the Nolan Smith one from the other night?
Yeah, the taunting. They're like they want to get rid of celebration. It seems like they really don't want players to celebrate.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on the taunting one. They took that way too far. Like they've gone far too far on that one. Nolan Smith having an emotional moment celebrating that was ridiculous. That they ended up calling that on him at that time. Like, I get it. It's a point of emphasis for you, but man, no fun league. Like that's really where I come back to. I'm like, what are we allowed to celebrate? And then, by the way, some of the celebrations I saw this weekend. Like, all of a sudden, like, I get it. They're not doing it over the guy, but, like, some of these people are having fun. Let them have fun. You don't need to legislate fun out of the game. Like, no need for it. If you want to legislate sportsmanship and you want to say what Jaylen Carter did was wrong, I'm all with you on that. I'm all for you on that. We talked about it on Friday. Need to be more professional moving forward. But don't legislate the fun out of the game. Now, going back to the Phillies conversation here. I opened the show with just, I talked about it a week ago, I think when I came back after Labor Day, that like the Phillies, I don't think it's a toxic relationship. It's more like you feel like it's almost the one that starts to feel like it's getting, like the one that's getting away here, where it's like, oh, it's just not going to work, but wouldn't it be great if it did? Like, couldn't you imagine how great it would be if it worked? Watching Turner go down yesterday just gave me that same feeling of like, another reason why it can't happen. Like another reason why this won't work out for you. I'm praying that we get good news today. And I don't know when the MRI, like I imagine Unfiltered's going to have a day to react to. They got Sirianni. They're probably going to get whatever Thompson says about Trey Turner leading up to the game. With every passing moment here that we don't get Carter news is a moment that they might get Carter news, and they'll still be able to react to it if we get to it. But that MRI today is the biggest thing I'm rooting for in sports. I would sacrifice a game suspension for Jaylen Carter if it meant the health of Trey Turner's hamstring. Is that wrong of me? Of the two news drops we get today, I would be okay to rationalize the suspension if it meant that I got a clean bill of health from Trey Turner.
I mean, I think that's fair because Carter missing one game is one game, and Trey Turner in a hamstring injury, we saw him miss 6 weeks last year with a hamstring injury. And he wasn't the same player after that. I think that heading down this postseason, heading into the stretch run here before the postseason, that's very fair to say.
And now we get into how they manage this going the rest of the way. I think in the time that he's out, it's just a Sosa Stott infield. I don't really need Stott being platooned by someone that's not Mundo Sosa. Like, justify Otto Kemp to me at second base, I'm cool. Justify Weston Wilson at second base to me, I'm cool. Like, there's no one else I'm putting there at second base that I feel like is going to give me that much more. I know it's sometimes feeble to watch him against left-handed pitching, but I'm not exactly enthralled by the other options that you have out there. Now, coming up, we're going to get to Besides the Birds, the 5 things I saw from Sunday, so might be more than 5. So I had the Besides the Birds thing all written up, and then they decided to turn a classic on Sunday Night Football. So we'll get to that at 11:30, and I mentioned it. The Phillies Karen thing. By the way, I didn't get torched on social media, but when I get engagement that starts to turn negative on me, I get surprised. Like, I thought everyone was in on the joke here. I tweeted something about the Phillies Karen thing. People did not get the joke at all. People were very, very upset. Not very, very upset, but there were some people that were upset, like, why can't we care about both? It's a joke, man. Now they're like, you're starting to sound like the Karen yourself. What? I'll explain. I'll tell you my viewpoint on the viral moment from over the weekend, and then we'll get to Besides the Birds coming up at 11:30. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through the Midday Show right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Trey Turner left yesterday's game early. I'm Sean Rodman, and Turner left the game early in the 7th inning of the Phillies' loss to the Marlins with a hamstring injury. Here is Turner talking to the media after the game about that injury.
Just kind of grabbing on me. Didn't feel good. Just felt like if, I could have kept going, I would have. Not get out of there and try to limit the damage.
Turner will have an MRI today to determine the severity of his injury. Phillies and Mets are in action tonight as they start a 4-game series. Phillies currently sit 7 games up on the division over the Mets, and Aaron Nola gets the start for the Phils tonight with Nolan McClann for the Mets. First pitch is at 6:45. No news yet on Jaylen Carter's punishment from the NFL. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, a decision could be announced as soon as today. The team, as in the Eagles, are working out former Bengals cornerback Mike Hilton today, according to Jordan Schultz. And Nick Sirianni is scheduled to speak to the media at 3:15. We'll carry that live for you right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update is brought to you by Bet365. Football is back. Get ready for the season at Bet365. When it comes to sportsbooks, Bet365 has it all. Download the app today and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's completely inexcusable.
It's despicable.
It's despicable behavior. Anybody who spins it any other way, I got to tell you,
Go Birds against the Cowboys.
I got to tell you, I have no time for anybody who tries to spin it as I have a gentleman on social media. You spit on me, I spit on you. He didn't get spit on. Yeah. In fact, he didn't get spit within 2 yards of him. When Dak spit, which he did, by the way, he did. And he definitely was trying to bait Jaylen Carter.
In that direction.
By the way, 1-0 Dakota.
Right.
Because Dakota got exactly what he wanted.
Sure.
He baited a hothead, and the hothead bit. That spit is 2 yards from Jaylen Carter. He didn't spit on Jaylen Carter. No. So stop it. Stop spinning it as if, you spit on me, I'm spitting on you. That's a bunch of crap. You don't spit on another human being. There's no excuse for it.
No.
And no one should make an excuse. And by the way, for our fan base, I'm very proud of our fan base because I think the vast, vast, vast majority Nobody's making any excuse for
Right.
Jaylen Carter.
The reason why they were able to run the ball pretty well yesterday was because Jaylen Carter did not play a single snap on defense. And we are going to obviously talk about the highs of last night's game and not just focus on the lows or focus on the bad things. But, John, that's something that just can't happen. Knowing what this defense is, or necessarily not knowing what this defense is, but we do know some of the key players. We know that Jaylen Carter is a beast. We know how good Quinyon Mitchell can be. We know how consistent a guy like Zach Bond can be following last year. We saw a rise in Jihad Campbell where a lot of people told us we should be excited for him. But when you're missing one of those key guys, the questions that surround the defense, they get highlighted more. So when you're not getting to the quarterback, like the edge rusher depth that I was concerned about, takes a hit when Jaylen Carter's not out there, it then gives your quarterback or the opposing quarterback in Dak Prescott more time to make throws. And when your secondary has question marks, like Adoree Jackson, like Sidney Brown, who did not start yesterday, it puts them even more under a spotlight. And when it doesn't go well, you realize how much of an absence Jaylen Carter was. And once you start doing things over and over and over again, what do the referees do? They look for it.
They do.
And so maybe last night, totally different circumstances with the spit gate, but there will be referees moving forward going, all right, that's the guy that we have to pay attention to. Is he going to do something stupid? As Jim Schwartz once said about Nigel Bradham many years ago when he was the defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, when you continue to do dumbass things, pretty soon you'll be labeled a dumbass. And that's exactly what Kevin Patullo and Jalen Hurts did yesterday. Maybe more so Jalen Hurts. He's the guy that's on the field. When he found a running lane, he took it. 14 carries, 62 yards, 2 touchdowns. And no, they weren't tush-push touchdowns. So for all the people outside of Philadelphia that just call him a tush-push touchdown merchant, he did it with his legs yesterday in impressive ways. 19 of 23, 152 yards. No interceptions. I didn't really see a bad football thrown by Jalen Hurts. The interception-worthy plays, turnover-worthy plays. It's the new stuff.
That's right. Midday show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn taking you through it. Want to let you know our Fanatic deal of the week. You get a 4-pack of tickets to Treehouse World for half off. Adventure awaits. Climb, zip line, and explore at Treehouse World in Westchester for half the price. Get this exclusive offer while supplies last at 975thefanatic.com/deals. Coming up at 11:30, so just 5 minutes time, we'll get you my Besides the Birds, the 5, maybe 6 games that caught my attention from over the weekend, breaking down everything that happened in them. But before that, I could not log on to Twitter this weekend without Phillies Karen somehow popping up on my timeline. Like, I saw it Friday night. I saw it happen. I was like, wow, that's messed up. Taking the ball away from the kid. Come to find out it's the kid's birthday. Terrible. Sense of entitlement. Going after the guy. My baseball. Going after him, yelling at him from the kid, taking it out of the kid's glove. Then the video surfaced where she's taunted different people because she's got the ball. And, you know, then people start booing. People get upset. And justifiably, we were upset because she did the wrong thing. It was the wrong thing to do at the time. Notice how I did not weigh in Friday night, nor Saturday. I don't even think Saturday morning. I think it was Saturday afternoon I finally tweeted. Because it was so obviously the wrong thing, Sean Rodman, who's producing the show. It was so obviously the wrong thing that I feel like the initial wave of people reacting to it did a good enough job reacting to it and saying that it was wrong that I had nothing more to add to the conversation. The second wave of people was like, okay, I get it. It's wrong. Thank you. The third wave of people, where it took over national news, where there were national outlets covering the story, it was like, all right, we get it. She did wrong. We know she did wrong. The Phillies and Marlins did a tremendous job taking care of the kid. Instead of getting a home run ball from Harrison Bader, he got a signed bat and he got to meet Harrison Bader. He got a gift pack. I don't know what a Marlins gift pack looks like. I imagine they put a ton of tickets in there because they know that their games are not going to be sold out. So they're like, anytime you want, you come back. Please, we're begging you. Give you some free food, too. I don't know what the prize pack looks like there, but it was so obvious that she was in the wrong. I don't understand why it took 48 hours worth of reaction for us to hammer that one home. And then everyone trying to dox and, like, get her fired and all these things. Breathe, people. Okay? She did wrong. She had a terrible moment. I can't imagine that she wakes up Saturday morning, Sunday morning, proud of what she did. She was humiliated. The wrongs were righted by the Phillies and the Marlins. The family's now been on television multiple times. They've got a signed Harrison Bader bat. They've got a story to tell forever. It was wrong in the moment. It was terrible in the moment. It was fixed. It's over. Can we put it to bed? Like, I tweeted this out, and people got upset. I said it. This Phillies fan fiasco has distracted us from what truly matters. The Dodgers lost again last night. Phils have a 4-game lead for the 2nd seed. It's all caring this, caring that. How about we start caring about the damn race to the 2 seed? Which was, admittedly, I tweeted with a smirk on my face. I was rolling my own eyes.
You were going to get that reaction, though.
I was rolling my eyes at myself. Like, come on, you're an idiot for that. And then people were like, why can't we care about both? Why does it have to be one or the other? You're starting to sound like a Karen. I was just trying to say, maybe it's time to move the conversation past it. It happened Friday night. Let's move on, people. We don't need to figure out her social security number. We don't have to figure out her address. We don't have to figure out where she's employed. We don't have to have some teacher defending herself saying that she's actually a Red Sox fan and that she would have caught the ball anyway. Like, we don't have to do that. All right, we can just move on. We can move on. And yeah, I knew what I was going to get. And, I got the, what are you, 12? Okay, Karen. I was like, lighten up, Ray. You're starting to sound like one. I'm not defending her. I'm just saying that maybe we move on to the baseball portion of things and not do 48 hours on a fly or a home run ball. Was that so much to ask, Sean Rodman?
No, I don't think it was so much to ask. I can see why people online would just react that way to you, though.
Yeah, we got someone on the YouTube chat. She's getting memed ruthlessly. That's the worst punishment.
Yes.
Yeah. You, working in this job, we, obviously the clips of us are posted, all these things. The last thing I want to be is the main character of the internet. I don't do this job for that. I do this job because I enjoy talking about sports, and I enjoy being a part of this community, and I enjoy the back and forth banter of all these things. I do not do this job because I hope that someday I open up Twitter and I'm the main character. I'm perfectly... You don't have Seinfeld without Kramer, all right? Everyone can be a side character here. Good side characters are fine. You find yourself the main character of the internet, it's not a place I want to be. Fair?
Very fair.
Very
I'm
fair.
with you there.
Yeah.
Don't want to be the main character, especially in that realm.
No, my contribution to society is having these conversations, all right? My contribution to society should not be my 24 hours being the main character on Twitter. I'm good with that. All right. Many have done it. It's not the most revolutionary thing. But we're going to take you across the National Football League in the segment Besides the Birds. We're starting in Sao Paulo, where Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs look to begin their redemption tour after that Super Bowl 59 loss. Who'd they lose to, by the way? Oh, Eagles, that's right. Just want to remember that. Two sides between the Chiefs and the Chargers played a solid back and forth. The Chiefs looked like their late game magic was about to happen. They were about to get back in it. Travis Kelce getting a touchdown to narrow the gap. Justin Herbert said, hold my Madison beer. You're not the only star. Dayton and Hollywood. I'm going to take over this game. He leads a touchdown drive, plus this impressive 3rd and 14 run to seal the game.
And they are going to throw it. And it's Herbert to his right with a wide open lane, and he picks it up and slides down in bounds. What a night for Justin Herbert. Gain of 19.
Chiefs 0-1 going into that Super Bowl rematch with the Birds next weekend. Moving to Sunday, I had to discount double check the year. I spent the weekend at a college campus, and Aaron Rodgers tossed for 4 touchdowns as the Steelers opened the season 1-0. The Jets did have a chance late, but much like Rodgers himself, even when you think the Jets have a shot, they don't. Jalen Ramsey, after getting chippy with Garrett Wilson all game, knocks the ball out of his hands on fourth and secures the win. Here's Aaron Rodgers getting the last laugh postgame.
You spoke about the meeting with Aaron Glenn on McAfee a few months ago. Beating him, is there significance in that, since he basically told you to your face that he didn't think you were right for that team?
Yes, that's what he did.
So there's significance in beating him for you?
I was happy to beat everybody associated with the Jets.
From one New Jersey failure to another, Giants down in Landover, Maryland. Mr. Unlimited looking quite limited by the Commanders, by the talent around him, and by himself. The Giants put up a measly 6 points. One passing touchdown for Jaden Daniels. Guess who caught the ball? Zach Ertz. Commanders 21, Giants 6. Here's Brian Dable gifting New York Sports Talk Radio a week of quarterback controversy content.
Will you consider starting Jackson next week?
Yeah, look, we're going to get home, back, and look at our game. Collectively, we all got to do better.
We'll see what happens there, but as for his old quarterback, Danny showed a Miami crowd that dimes aren't just native to South Beach. Daniel Jones tosses for 272 and accounts for 3 total touchdowns in a 33-8 Colts drubbing of the Dolphins. It all makes sense why Mike McDaniel said this back in the preseason.
You should stand corrected. Good morning. False. Great morning. Let's go.
What makes this one great?
Because we're another day closer to death.
And he's another day closer to the unemployment line. The Dolphins, looks like that run with Mike McDaniel is falling apart. Fire up the resume. And speaking of fired up, somebody hit that love train line. Somebody hit the music. The pack smoking on the Lions. Jordan Love isn't just what Jalen Hurts got week 1. It's also the name of the NFC North's best quarterback. Cheeseheads enjoyed some craft to open up that game, and they never looked back. Green Bay's got the Lambeau leap. Detroit's got a knee-biting creep. Pack 27, Lions 13. Here's Dan Campbell upset postgame.
We didn't play good enough. We didn't coach good enough, including me, and we didn't play good enough. So, like I told the team, it's tough, to go in and not certainly play close to your best game. And, you hate starting the season out with a loss. And as bad as that is, it's not what it appears to be. So, it's like I told them, let's clean up the tape. We made some critical errors at the worst times possible. You take those out of the equation and it looks different. You feel like it should be a totally different scenario, but we did make those critical errors at the worst time.
Never good when week 1 you're doing if you took all the bad things out, we actually played a good game. Tough start for Campbell and crew for the first game without his 2 coordinators from a season ago. And I said it's only 5, but I could not forget the Sunday night football game. I had written this all ready to go. I was like, these are the 5. We'll talk about what happens in Sunday Night Football. And then the Ravens had a 99% chance of winning with less than 5 minutes left in the game. Derrick Henry fumbled, and Josh Allen happened. Matt Prater, who looked older than the last 2 presidents combined, standing on that sideline for the Bills, nailed this game winner in the closing moments.
From 32 yards, Prater! Their final season in this stadium with a stunning comeback win.
Prater walking on the sidelines looked like a bad Hollywood movie casting job when they cut to him, when they realized that it was going to be him that had to win that game. My goodness, he's 41, and you could have convinced me he was somewhere close to 60, but he is the man that wins it for Buffalo last night. And Josh Allen, able to fire up that Buffalo crowd to a 1-0 start. Just a tremendous football game last night. I wanted to sleep on that flight home. I could not. And that is, besides the birds, what happened in the NFL in week 1. One more game for you tonight. Rodman, you said you did not make it to the end of that game last night.
No, that Lamar Jackson touchdown pass to DeAndre Hopkins, I fell asleep and I missed a good one. I caught up on it this morning, but man, a little disappointed in myself. I could not. Was trying to fight in myself to stay awake and could not.
It's a tough look by you.
I know.
Very tough look by you. I'll be honest with you. Ravens go up by 15. I was like, all right, I'm going to leave the phone sitting here up in front of me on the seat as I'm sitting on the plane. I was like, I'll let the eyes wander a little bit. Henry fumble, everything changed.
See, I didn't make it to that point. Otherwise, I would have been up.
Yeah, everything changed. What a game that was last night. I mean, that was just very, very exciting to see. Now, I mentioned one thing from yesterday, that Lions-Packers game. There's a former Lion that is making a home in Philadelphia. The signing that was made, I believe, after we got off the air Friday, because they immediately went and addressed the edge rusher room after Thursday's game. Break down the impact he can have and what the Eagles are also looking at apparently today in the secondary. Trying to shore up that defense. Can they do it? What do they need more? I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Do you feel...
How much do you think they're going to try to make a little bit more of a concerted effort just to get those guys more involved?
I remember a couple years ago in the opener against Detroit, I think it was, where Devontae Smith, he didn't come away with any catches.
Yeah, the single catch, I remember that. And then they went crazy, remember that?
Week, yeah, they just fed him. They just fed him right after that.
Right,
I think that you're going to see some of that. I just got done rewatching that game from last night, and there were opportunities for Brown here and there, but I think that the Dallas did a nice job of, and Sirianni spoke to this after the game, of matching some of the routes. So there was a couple times where you would have, like there's one instance I'm thinking of in particular where A.J. Brown's running a curl route, and the safety drops at his depth to take that away, and then Hurts ends up hitting Dallas Goedert underneath, and there was just a lot of that sort of going on. The passing game, maybe it wasn't as spectacular as you would hope. I think that Hurts's comments post-game were kind of telling when I asked him about how the operation went with him and Kevin Patullo, and he was mostly glowing about it, but said, like, sometimes you don't want to be reactive. You want to be a little bit more proactive. So I think it's, maybe getting a little bit more on the aggressive side from a passing standpoint might be something that they talk about moving forward. A.J. Brown, obviously, a really big part of that. So I think before long we'll see Brown get going.
Yeah. Going forward, how much do you think they're going to let Adoree Jackson kind of figure this out on the field, given the fact they play the Chiefs?
It really kind of speaks to what we did see during the course of the summer training camp, and that was that the CB2 just never got an answer. And as much as they wanted to paint it up, it just never happened. I mean, they wanted the job to go to Kelee Ringo, I think, and he didn't grab it. And then Adoree Jackson was the best out of those options, but it's not like he really distinguished himself over the course of those training camp practices or in the preseason. And you saw that Dallas picked on him. And I think that you're not always going to go up against a 1-2 punch at the receiver position that the Cowboys have, but you can be sure that from here on, including in Kansas City, that opposing teams are going to be targeting that spot. And that is a different reality than what the Eagles were operating with last year when you had Darius Slay and you had Quinion Mitchell, just that's playing at such a high level that it opened so many other things up for the rest of the players and for defense coordinator Vic Fangio. I just looked at the next-gen stats. Adoree Jackson, according to them, allowed 5 receptions for 103 yards on 7 targets, had 2 missed tackles, and, of course, the pass interference right in the end zone there. So it was not a good night for him. And I kind of felt like Jacorian Bennett in the limited snaps, at least from where I was standing, it felt a little bit more controlled when he was in the game.
Ray Dunn, Sean Robin producing the program today. Ahead of an important week-ish for the Phillies. Important in that, let's just not get embarrassed here. Okay? Let's just, hold serve at home. Again, I'm only asking for 2 against the Mets. I'm not really being too greedy. You need to avoid a historic collapse to not win this division. So, again, not worried about the division at this point. Worried about that second seed. More worried about the MRI today for Trey Turner. That's the biggest thing. I did say earlier, and I think that most of the city would be on board with this one. I would sacrifice. Actually, I don't know, because we are such a football town, and there is no world in which this is actually something you can do. But would you sacrifice bad news on the Jaylen Carter suspension front for good news on the Trey Turner health front? I think there is a subset of the fan base that is so tired of this Phillies team and just high on the Eagles and wants to beat the Chiefs that maybe they would be all right, forget the Phillies. It's football season. Don't let me get bad news on Jaylen Carter. I think that's the minority, but I could see that subset of the fan base existing. Am I wrong in that?
I could see some subset of the fan base existing on that front as well, especially because I think people want to beat the Chiefs. I think some people just don't like Mahomes, or maybe it's even Travis Kelce in that light. But I would definitely sacrifice Jaylen Carter being suspended a game for Trey Turner's health, because I think that is going to impact the Phillies season more than it would impact the Eagles season missing 1 game. Yeah. Especially it being an AFC opponent where it's not going to affect you in a tiebreaker later.
Yeah, I was having that conversation off the air with the morning guys. If this comes down to suspension, you're not appealing this, right? 'Cause you're just going to let it play out because you don't want him to potentially miss the Rams game or the Bucks game, depending on how long the appealing process goes. Unless they want to push this all the way to the Giants, in which case, sign me up. You know what? Give us the whole Rashee Rice. We're going to have the hearing for it 4 weeks into the season thing. Sign me up for that one.
Right.
Push that all the way to the Giants one. If I could choose when he gets suspended, sure, give me a suspension. It's not how this works, or it shouldn't be how this works. Speaking about the Eagles here, Zadarius Smith, they make the signing Friday afternoon. Edge rusher, 3-time Pro Bowler, had 9 sacks a season ago, was acquired midseason by the Lions. He had, was it 4 for them last year? I think it was 4 after the trade and 5 before the trade. He's been a very productive edge rusher for a while in the NFL. At this point, he is 32. I think we always like to say that guys that are available at this point in the season are available at this point in the season. Some of them, maybe it's not going through a camp. Some of them, maybe it's because teams are a little concerned that they've hit the wall and they've gone past their prime. Given what you have right now, I don't hate it. Given what you have right now, his ability, one, play on the edge, but also is there positional flexibility that at some points he could get you a little bit of interior pressure. I don't hate that. And Ojulari being inactive early here was very interesting. Going down that depth chart, Patrick Johnson, I think, plays more because he could give you some help on special teams. Uche is good for what you have, but what you have isn't necessarily good, and you didn't get the pass rush you were looking for. I think it is an immediate grab. It's something that now, if this doesn't work, as much as we want to talk about that second corner spot, talk about what they're doing opposite of Quinyon Mitchell, if I had to guess the move they would make at the trade deadline, given this move, if Zadarius Smith doesn't end up being a difference maker, they're more likely going to seek help on that defensive front, because they're going to believe that if they get pressure, the problems with Adoree Jackson subside substantially. That's what I read into this move. Now, today, they are also trying to address what's happening at the cornerback position for them, because they not only brought in Zadarius Smith on Friday to help that edge rusher room, but today Mike Hilton is in working out, apparently. Former Bengals cornerback. That was reported by Jordan Schultz, which is interesting because where you would put Hilton out in the field, more likely play him in the slot, no?
Yeah, he would more likely play in the slot if he were to get playing time, and which means maybe they move DeJean out wide.
Which is... If you think that Hilton can produce at a decent level inside and DeJean is going to hold his own outside, it's not the worst thing in the world, but also going to the point with Hilton. Avonte Maddox, the problems that we had with Avonte Maddox last year, he ended up on a roster before the season. Mike Hilton was a part of a disaster in Cincinnati. I get it. You're trying every little way to address this. It, again, just confirms to you that what we're seeing, they're seeing. They do feel uncomfortable with their situation in the secondary. They do feel uncomfortable with their situation at edge rusher. Zadarius Smith feels like a more likely fix to a problem than Mike Hilton feels like a fix to a problem, just to be honest with you. I believe in Cooper DeJean's abilities. Moving him outside, it's not necessarily anything against him. I think it's just more, okay, now you might have a hole there at slot corner if you have Hilton. Because, who was it? 2023. Why I'm blanking on the name, but I just remember 2023, Eagles brought in, the names escape me. It's going to drive me nuts. And I remember us saying, yeah, this guy, pedigree in the slot, they're going to be able to figure it out. They'll make it work. And it was like, no. When you're out there at this point, you are out there for a reason. I don't necessarily think that today is saved because Mike Hilton's coming in for a workout and Zadarius Smith is in. I do like the banking on upside for Smith. I think 9 sacks a year ago, put him in a rotation at 32. But that also has to mean that Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt take that step forward that you're expecting. And through 1 week, I think you have every reason to be skeptical. It's hard to give out grades, though, on that entire defense when you don't have the best defensive player out there. And that's the biggest thing, and that's another reason why we're waiting to see what the news we get today with Jaylen Carter. But that's what they're trying to do to fix the problem. After week 1, I'm curious how many people... That was the name. Bradley Roby was the name. Thank you. Thank you, Sean Rodman. I was killing me because I remember we talked about him nonstop. I'm sure the YouTube chat was able to get... No. They were going Kevin Byard. It was... Yeah.
Because he had a good run with Denver at one point.
Yes, that's what it was. Bradley Roby came in, and it was like, all right, here's someone that they're going to be able to get in there at slot court. That was the name. Driving me crazy. Yeah, obviously we all remember them bringing in Byard. But I was sitting there, who in the world?
The other name I was thinking, I didn't know if you were going to go with Josh Jobe.
No.
Who had an interception yesterday for the Seahawks as well.
How about that? Seahawks, I apologize to people out there. I like them as home dogs.
I did too.
As it turns out, Sam Darnold might have been a Kevin O'Connell merchant.
Might have been
a Kevin O'Connell merchant.
Wonder how J.J. McCarthy's going to do then.
Crap. No, he's going to stink. We're holding strong on that one. Coming up, we're going to get to the text line 610-632-0975. I'd love to hear from you. With them going after Zadarius Smith, does that signal to you that we have more of a problem here at edge rusher than we do at that second corner spot? Are you still there with the issues at second corner? Coming up, it's the NFL Notes at noon. What did Sean Rodman see from over the weekend? He wants to make sure that you saw. Plus, coming up, we'll get back to the Phillies conversation and your reaction at 610-632-0975. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you to the Midday Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Trey Turner left the game yesterday due to an injury. I'm Sean Rodman, and Turner left the game in the 7th inning of the Phillies' loss to the Marlins with a hamstring injury. Here is Turner talking to the media after the game.
Just kind of grabbing on me. Didn't feel good. Just felt like if, I could have kept going, I would have. Not get out of there and try to limit the damage.
Turner will have an MRI today to determine the severity of his injury. Phillies and Mets are in action tonight at home at Citizens Bank Park. Phillies currently sit 7 games up in the division over the Mets. Aaron Nola gets the start for the Phils and Nolan McClann for the Mets. First pitch is at 6:45. No news yet on Jaylen Carter's punishment from the NFL. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, a decision could be announced as soon as today. The Eagles are working out former Bengals cornerback Mike Hilton, according to Jordan Schultz. And Nick Sirianni is scheduled to speak to the media at 3:15 today. We'll carry that live for you here right on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update is sponsored by Mercedes-Benz. Looking for an exceptional driving experience? Experience the power, precision, and intelligence of an iconic Mercedes-Benz SUV at your local Mercedes-Benz dealer today. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
We're talking to Tim McManus here of ESPN, and a lot was made I know certainly by us and just in talking leading up to the game, some callers, fans we were getting reaction from about the new offensive coordinator and how it would look. How did you assess, kind of going deeper into that point you just brought up of Hurts and Patullo in the operation, how did you assess the operation from a full game standpoint, given how hot it started and then how stagnant it got a little bit late?
Well, the fact that it started out hot is different. I mean, if we remember back from last year and people pulling their hair out because they couldn't score in the first quarter, that was a storyline that lasted, into November, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was...
We got to do the old
slow start.
Julio Jones is the last Eagle to have a first quarter touchdown. I remember breaking out that stat every week for about 2 months.
Yeah, and then here they came right out of the gates and they scored some touchdowns. So at least that puts that narrative to bed and shows that Patullo had a game plan that was effective early on, and then things slowed down. It's kind of a weird game to assess because both offenses really started to stall after the delay of game. And nobody could be stopped, before the lightning came, and then after the lightning came, nobody could score. So, how much of that is Patullo adjustments, etc. There were a couple corner blitzes in succession that I watched where the offense just didn't really seem to have a great answer for. So I don't think it was a perfect game for Patullo. I think there are things to clean up, but I think if you look at it as a whole, the fact that it's his first game calling plays, first game working that operation with Jalen Hurts, and that they got off to that fast start, there's probably more encouraging things than not to build off of.
Speaking of encouraging, Jahad Campbell just absolutely, I thought, acquitted himself more than adequately. Playing alongside a guy like Zach Bond, I think that Vic Fangio, for me, a guy like Vic Fangio that wants to be able to run certain things, he's got two guys that are going to be able to run, I think, everything that he would like to run. You gave him car keys to 2 Maseratis. And I think that this is something that I think he's going to get better. He's still going to make those mistakes, and you're going to see that. But I would think that that's a guy that certainly has turned a lot of heads and has given into some of the expectations at this point early on.
An embarrassment of riches at linebacker.
Right?
What
who are we? Who are we?
What is going on? I don't even know who we are anymore. And Campbell, I agree. What a debut. He flashed every day during training camp. It wasn't always perfect. In fact, I think in pass coverage was really sometimes where it got shaky. I remember a couple times that he gave up, whether it was a wheel route against Will Shipley or a touchdown to where he blew an assignment during the joint practices against the Browns, and you're like, okay, the passing game's maybe where he needs some refinement. And then you see that play where he just carries the field with Ferguson and comes up with that PBU, and it's like linebackers really don't do that. So you recognize that you have a special talent, and to your point, Amy, it's paired with another special talent in Zach Bond, who has a similar skill set in that way. That just opens up so many things. Like while we're talking about the restrictions in the secondary with the questions at safety and CB2 in particular, the flip side of that for Fangio is that if you have 2 linebackers like that, man, how creative can you get? And what different looks can you present an offense that they're not normally presented because they just don't have that ability at the linebacker position. So it's a new day in Philadelphia, I guess.
Time for someone to get in, but not him. I know he had a big television hit today.
Oh, that's why.
Big TV guy. So, maybe we missed him there. Hi, I'm Ray Dunn, taking you to the Midday Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic. But I haven't seen him yet, so I'm a little concerned. Maybe, you know what it is? Honeygrow line was probably long.
You think so? Do you think he had to probably stop on the way to get a Kind bar, too, somewhere?
Yeah, maybe. I think he's fully stocked on those. I do get worried about him when there's a crowd at Honeygrow, because he could get lost in that crowd pretty quick. Takes him a while to get his I don't even know what he gets from there. I've got the salad from there. I'm a big fan. It's actually not a bad spot around the corner. I make fun of him just because he gets it religiously. I get it once every blue moon. Every day, salad, protein bar. Anyways, closing on the 12 o'clock hour here. We got the NFL Notes at noon coming up in just a few minutes. You're tuned in to WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. Loving right now. I'm working right now in between the breaks here. We're getting together my college basketball schedule for the winter. So looking forward, just trying to work out different dates and things and get, as much as I love football being back, as we get closer to the winter, then it'll take over where I'm in like the prime of everything I'm doing. Between Eagles season stretch, really October is what does. October is like Red October, leading into basketball season, and Eagles really getting underway. But I saw something on the old Bird app. Did you see the Sixers letting you know when, hey, this is when you should come out to some games because we're going to be rocking those 25th anniversary jerseys. Their 25th anniversary games, celebrating that Eastern Conference title team from 2001. They released, 14 games that they're going to be rocking them?
I was going to guess 14 or 15 based off the list.
So first one, Toronto Raptors on November 8th. There'll be a back-to-back where they rock them. Detroit Pistons. That's nice for the crew at Wells Fargo Center because they don't have to change the court overnight. They could just rock it back-to-back nights. Tough for the equipment crew.
Depending on if there's a Flyers game too. I don't know with the
back-to-back. It's 8-9.
Well, I just didn't know if there'd be a day game, in between kind of thing for the Flyers.
That would be torture. Why would they torment them like that?
That would be very torturous.
I want to know because I want to know whether or not I just gave false security to. No, so there's a Flyers game the afternoon of the 8th, and then the Sixers game is the night of the 8th, and then they play the 9th again.
So they have a little quick turnaround after the Flyers game to get the court ready.
Correct.
But they can keep it after that.
And that's nice. They're rewarding the crew there. I would hope that was out of the kindness of their heart and not just like, let's just tack another game on there.
Yeah, I would hope so.
I would hope. But yeah, 14 games. 14 games for you with the black jerseys.
Will you be purchasing?
Well, I'm still in the season tickets.
No, but a black jersey though.
I already have one.
So not even, what if not like a maxi or
maybe, I don't know, dude.
One of these new players that are currently on the roster?
I got to get a Devontae before I get anything else. If we're looking at the Philadelphia sports scene, if Schwarber signs an extension, maybe, even though I don't know if I look right in a Schwarber jersey. There's just a lot of muscle, just a lot of mass that I don't fill out for a Schwarber jersey.
If it makes you feel any better, I have a Schwarber jersey.
All right, I could get a Schwarber jersey.
There you go.
Real quick, let's get some texts in before we get to the NFL notes at noon here on any of the topics we've had at 610-632-0975.
All right, Paul in Tulsa checking in saying the passing game is all timing. Jaylen and the receivers had 0 snaps together in the preseason. It's not going to be pretty the first 4 weeks. Running the ball is easier to be ready for.
Fair. Again, I'm not overreacting to the AJ thing, like not having catches. The one. I'm not overreacting to that early on here. I'm not reacting to Devontae not having early on here. We've seen them play together for how long now? Maybe I'll be naive by the time we get to week 5, but I'll choose being naive right now than being the guy that overreacts and casts doom on what's happening.
All right, next up we have no name on this one, but still feel great about the Birds. Jackson cannot be the starter come playoffs, and the Packers are going to be a problem. NFC East should be in the bag, though.
Yeah, I didn't come away overly impressed in the other NFC East game of the weekend. Commanders did their thing. I expected them to win that game. I'm in one of those loser pools where you have to pick a team to lose every week.
The Giants?
I did pick the Giants. I was like, that's a solid week 1 pick. I don't think they're beating the Commanders. That's one to just clear the hurdle, get to week 2. I just, I didn't want to tumble over the hurdle. I wanted to see someone else get eliminated before I did. That was really what it was for me. I don't think I'm going to win the thing. You never sign up for one of those thinking you're going to win. I never count my winnings in those things. I always am like, I just want to survive past, you. It's kind of like if you line up for a 100-meter dash and you look to your right and you're like, I just want to beat you, man. Or look to your left. I'd rather you lose. That's kind of what I was doing there when I get to these pick things. I just want to beat the person directly next to me. I don't expect to win. One more text before we get done.
All right. Matt and Marlton saying, what Carter did was disgraceful and deplorable. The face of the NFL, Lamar, made a major violation as well and needs to be suspended for a minimum of 1 game. If they want to set the standard, then hold everyone accountable.
All right. Well, that leads us into something that'll be in the NFL notes at noon. Hit the music, Rodman.
All right, and we will, if you're not aware of that, we'll actually start with that right now as well. Lamar Jackson threw a nice touchdown pass to DeAndre Hopkins last night before the Bills came back. And, well, a fan in the stands in Buffalo tapped and hit DeAndre Hopkins in the head. He didn't really seem to mind too much, but Lamar Jackson got a little bit heavier of a stiff arm. And here is NBC's broadcast of it last night on a replay.
And over by the fence, fan hits him up on the head and then hits Lamar Jackson. And after that fan, it wasn't celebrating at all, hit him, Jackson pushes the fan back.
A two-hand shove that he gave that fan. He put him for a bit of a ride right there.
Does that, I know we talked about the University of Florida player, but does that impact Jaylen Carter's potential punishment? That the face of
if Lamar doesn't get suspended for that, and then Jaylen Carter gets suspended for spitting on an opponent after he missed an entire game, and the Ravens weren't even penalized, if I remember correctly last night, I don't believe they were penalized at all.
I don't believe so.
Following that, yeah, I mean that's one of those two things. You did not get penalized. I understand from the athlete perspective why you do that. Like, I do. The fan has absolutely no right to touch the player. That's not a part of it. I know, when you go up celebrating near the stands, it evokes, obviously, emotion. That Bills fan base is upset for what their team is doing and what's happening to their team in that moment. But as a fan, it bothers me that I feel like a bigger percentage than we admit of fan behavior is kind of abusive. That one is literally hitting the guy. He has a helmet on. He's got pads on. It's not that it's going to hurt him, but why? To that point, though, you just can't. You can't put your hands on a fan like that. What are you doing? What are you doing, Lamar Jackson?
Two wrongs don't make a right there.
Right. Both of them were in the wrong. I would expect his pockets to be lighter after this week. I think the NFL will fine him for that. But it would be very interesting to me if the NFL made an example out of Carter and didn't out of Jackson, because I can't imagine that Lamar Jackson is going to miss time. I can't imagine they're going to let that happen.
I would be shocked if he does get suspended, but at the same time, if he doesn't get suspended, then Jaylen Carter shouldn't be at that point.
Right. One sportsmanship, the other one is fan-player relation here, and I don't know. I don't know if there was anything more that went. I don't know if when he hit him, he said something to him, and that's what led to the push. I can only speak on what I saw, and if it's just you reacting to being hit by someone, the fan's absolutely in the wrong, but you're wrong with the two-handed shove.
Well, let's stay with that game right there. And when that touchdown happened after that, some Buffalo Bills fans started to leave the game early. And, well, Josh Allen had a message for those Bills fans after the game on NBC's.
Our team didn't quit. I mean, I think there's people that left the stadium. That's okay. We'll be fine, but have some faith next time.
Would that happen in Philadelphia? If they're down 16 in the fourth quarter, I think it still would happen, but at the same time, that's a bad look for Buffalo. I definitely think it would happen. I definitely think it would happen. But at the same time, bad look for Buffalo.
Bad look for Buffalo, but I'm sorry. I know, we're a very passionate fan base here.
Oh, no, people would have been leaving earlier in the game than that.
I don't know about earlier in the game than that, but the idea that all 70,000 strong at the Link would have stuck to the end of that game on a late Sunday night where they're down multiple scores within the last 5 minutes, I think some of you are kidding yourselves. Some of you are I would never leave early, but
we all know
it's only week one.
We all know that we have friends that go to the games that are very passionate, that would be fed up and want to leave early. Some people may want to beat the traffic too.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Someone's like, you know what? I don't feel like being here till 1 in the morning. I don't feel like getting home at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm already upset. I might as well get out of here. It would happen here. People won't want to admit that to themselves, but it would happen here for sure. And it's all right. It's one of those situations where everyone looks to their left and right and is like, it's like when you sit down at college orientation, like look to your left, look to your right. One of the three of you isn't going to graduate. Right? That's the whole thing that they do. That's basically what everyone would do when it comes to leaving early. Look to your left, to your right. 2 or 3 of you might stay, but that third person is out. And a lot of people don't want to admit to themselves that they're that third person. It would happen here. Bad look for the Buffalo fans for sure. but it would definitely happen elsewhere. I don't know necessarily it's like, oh, Buffalo fans actually stink. It's like, have a little more faith. Like those Miami Heat fans. I mean, they're bad fans, but the Miami Heat fans, remember when Ray Allen hit that shot and there were so many that were trying to get back in the building? That's not how it works, buddy. You gave up. No re-entry. Get lost. Bandwagon leaves. All right, what else?
Lastly, Ray, you mentioned the YouTube game on Friday night in Brazil, and I have an update for you. I don't think that game's going away. The numbers came out for it. 16.2 million people in the U.S. on average watched that Chiefs-Chargers game on YouTube. That's on average. That wasn't the peak. And then they had another 1.1 million outside of the U.S., ranging from 230 countries watching the game as well on YouTube. That number at $16.2 million, not $1 million, but million average of viewers is up 2 million from the Friday game, the Eagles-Packers a year ago on NBC.
Damn. Why you got to do that to me?
I have one more for you in that regard for the YouTube.
Go ahead.
The NFL's YouTube page gained another 500,000 subscribers from that game. YouTube game's not going anywhere. It's going to be coming back. It's going to be coming back, Ray.
It was Mr. Beast's breakdown of what just happened on third down. Could we just get like the streamers out? All right, you got the audience you wanted. Think about the old people, man. Think about the old people. They know there's a game on. They don't know where to find it. Think about the bars. They all had smart TVs, so they don't count. But think about someone in this instead of yourselves. Oh. I will give credit. The studio crew was pretty good.
Yes.
YouTube. Derek Carr with a tremendous debut.
Yeah, I always also just the broadcast group. Rich Eisen, always big fan of.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for the NFL notes at noon.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I mean, 16.2 I think is still down from their like average, but
it is about on par for what Monday Night Football gets on average as well. I was going to hold that one in.
All right. Well, that's fine. It'll be back. Doesn't matter what I think.
Not as high as the Christmas Day game. But
that doesn't do much for me. Netflix this year, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so Netflix again. Great. What have they done to our beautiful game, Sean Rodman? I'm sorry. I'm not usually the I don't want to call it the old man yelling at clouds, but kind of, because I feel like it. But like, you know, you have YouTube. Like, do 2 streams. One that's like football, and one that's like, here's the content creator.
Like Nickelodeon does?
Yeah, and I don't mind the Nickelodeon one, actually. Because I know what I'm going in for.
Right.
The YouTube one, I'm going in for the football, and I'm being served, here's that guy that does the absurd things. Like, here's the guy that tried to recreate Squid Games. It's like, I don't need that. I just want football in this instance. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong with this. Also, this is a show where we give credit. And I have to, coming up, going to get back some Phillies conversation. I know we got some lineups. We'll get back to our text line. I have to give credit to one man for accepting something. And it's very good for this Phillies team if he means it. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Attention, Delaware.
We're talking to Tim McManus here of ESPN, and a lot was made, I know, certainly by us, and just in talking leading up to the game, some callers, fans we were getting reaction from, about the new offensive coordinator and how it would look. How did you assess, kind of going deeper into that point just brought up of Hurts and Patul in the operation, how did you assess the operation from a full game standpoint, given how hot it started and then how stagnant it got a little bit late?
Well, the fact that it started out hot is different. I mean, if we remember back from last year and people pulling their hair out because they couldn't score in the first quarter, that was a storyline that lasted, into November, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was...
We got to do the old
slow start.
Julio Jones is the last Eagle to have a first quarter touchdown. I remember breaking out that stat every week for about 2 months.
Yeah, and then here they came right out of the gates and they scored some touchdowns. So at least that puts that narrative to bed and shows that Patul had a game plan that was effective early on. and then things slowed down. It's kind of a weird game to assess because both offenses really started to stall after the delay of game, and nobody could be stopped, before the Lightning came, and then after the Lightning came, nobody could score. So, how much of that is Patullo adjustments, etc. There were a couple corner blitzes in succession that I watched where the offense just didn't really seem to have a great answer for. So I don't think it was a perfect game for Patullo. I think there are things to clean up, but I think if you look at it as a whole, the fact that it's his first game calling plays, first game working that operation with Jalen Hurts, and that they got off to that fast start, there's probably more encouraging things than not to build off of.
Speaking of encouraging, Jahad Campbell just absolutely, I thought, acquitted himself more than adequately. Playing alongside a guy like Zach Bond, I think that Vic Fangio, for me, a guy like Vic Fangio that wants to be able to run certain things, he's got two guys that are going to be able to run, I think, everything that he would like to run. You gave him car keys to two Maseratis, and I think that this is something that I think he's going to get better. He's still going to make those mistakes, and you're going to see that. But I would think that that's a guy that certainly has turned a lot of heads and has given into some of the expectations at this point early on.
An embarrassment of riches at linebacker.
Right?
What
who are we? Who are we?
What is going on? I don't even know who we are anymore. And Campbell, I agree. What a debut. He flashed every day during training camp. It wasn't always perfect. In fact, I think in pass coverage was really sometimes where it got shaky. I remember a couple times that he gave up, whether it was a wheel route against Will Shipley or a touchdown to where he blew an assignment during the joint practices against the Browns, and you're like, okay, the passing game's maybe where he needs some refinement, and then you see that play where he just carries the field with Ferguson and comes up with that PBU, and it's like linebackers really don't do that. So you recognize that you have a special talent, and to your point, Amy, it's paired with another special talent in Zach Bond, who has a similar skill set in that way. That just opens up so many things. While we're talking about the restrictions in the secondary with the questions at safety and CB2 in particular, the flip side of that for Fangio is that if you have two linebackers like that, man, how creative can you get? And what different looks can you present an offense that they're not normally presented because they just don't have that ability at the linebacker position. So it's a new day in Philadelphia, I guess.
Back into the Midday Show here, 12 o'clock hour. I'm Ray Dunn taking you through the Midday Show here. Sorry, a little run back here. Had to tell Bill to get lost. I was worried about him. I was genuinely worried about him. I know a lot of people don't think I get worried about the guy. I didn't see him before 11 o'clock. I was worried.
Did he get his honey grow? What happened?
I don't know. He was so locked in on getting ready for the show, I have no idea what happened. So I just let him have his moment.
Wow, wouldn't even talk to you then?
No, not really. No, he was kind of, I don't want to say standoffish, but, I guess that's what happens. Becomes a big television star. Was doing TV this morning, doing TV this afternoon. Whatever. I get it. I go down there Thursday for their big show down there at South Philly at Chickies and Pete's. Nothing. It is cool what they're doing, Unfiltered. The high school athlete that they're going to be spotlighting every week. Definitely go check that out because I'm really excited for what it could turn into and just the opportunity for a lot of, showcasing some quality athletes around here. So I'm trying to pull up exactly what they can get for you because I want to make sure that I promote this one correctly for you. People be like, What's he talking about? And, of course, it's not popping up right now. So not good radio right now.
I'll find it for you.
Work my way through everything that they've got going on without. Oh, here it is. It's their unfiltered high school athlete performance of the week. They're given an opportunity to nominate a local high school athlete for their performance on the field, on the court, on the ice, whatever sport they're excelling at. Nominations open up 2 o'clock Thursday through the next Tuesday. They'll go through all of them, and then they'll name the athlete of the week on the air. So you go find that 975thefanatic.com to register for that to nominate your athlete. So looking forward to them doing that. This is your 12 o'clock hour, brought to you by Service First HVAC, offering 0% financing for 48 months, rebates and tax credits up to $4,300 when purchasing a heating and cooling system. Learn more at ServiceFirstHVAC.com. I mentioned that this was a show of giving credit. In a second, I'm going to give credit to an athlete that I have ripped relentlessly for months. But before that, Sean Robin, back to the text line here. I know you got some lineups for us that people want to try and construct, because without Turner, it becomes interesting. I'm going back to the Schwarber leadoff setup. I understand. Oh, no, what? If you put Stott up there, you're going to end up in a lefty just chaos. Plus, are you going to really bat him against the left-handed starter? He hasn't played against lefties all season long. He's going to be playing every day at this point. You're going to bat him leadoff in that spot. So then you're changing everything day in, day out. Also, when we go down the line of who should bat leadoff, who else gives you the thought of being a leadoff hitter on this team that's not Schwarber at this point going forward without Turner out there? Turner this year has been an excellent leadoff hitter because he became exactly what you hoped he would offensively for you for much of this season. Please, read us some lineups here.
All right, Mike checking in with us saying another lineup option is doing Schwarber, JT, Harper, like you had earlier in the show, right? Then he has Bader, Marsh, Bohm, and then Casty or Kepler, Stott, and then Sosa in the ninth hole. And then in parentheses, instead of Sosa, he says, should be Miller.
Yeah, so I know people got all once Turner goes down, you process that, then people got excited. Oh, bring up Aiden Miller. Aiden Miller figured out how to hit double-A pitching the second half of the season. That's been wonderful. He got promoted yesterday to AAA. That's also very nice. I don't necessarily think inviting him into a pennant race in September when he just figured out double-A pitching over the last couple of months is exactly the best recipe for success for him and the Phillies. I'm just as excited as the next guy. He's turned it on. He's started to figure it out. Please, I ask you, climb the ladder. No need to take the jump. You remember the Phillies actually had a really interesting prospect in Double-A that was running the bases really well. He was an incredible defender. And they were like, you know what? Let's see what he's got at the big league club. Remember his name?
I'm guessing you're referring to Scott Kingery.
No, I'm referring to Johan Rojas.
Oh, I don't know if you're going further
Not the
back.
same pedigree, obviously, and not the same offensive ability. But, just because you were a star at one level doesn't mean that you're just going to make the leap to another level and make it work out for you. Miller figured out Double-A. Then he's going to figure out Triple-A. And once he figures out Triple-A, we'll see him here. And I think that's going to be next summer at some point. I think we're going to realistically be planning for how they shuffle the deck. Because what? Next year, if you force a promotion to AAA at the end of this year, I don't know how you're going to be able to maneuver things. I don't know what your infield looks like next year anyways. That's an off-season conversation. But I'm not ready to yet just crown him to be up here. So the lineup I went with. Against right-handers, Schwarber, Realmuto, Harper, Bohm, Marsh, Bader, Kepler, Sosa, Stott. Against... And honestly, I might flip that Stott and Sosa right there. You do end up with the back-to-back lefties, but I would rather Stott get the at-bat against the right-hander sooner than Edmundo Sosa. So I'll flip those two. I'll make that adjustment after I read that one out to you. I got a little righty-lefty excited there. I probably should have had it the other way. Against lefties, Schwarber, Realmuto, Harper, Bohm, Castellanos, Bader, Stott, Wilson, Sosa. And even there, I could maybe switch around I just end up getting very righty heavy. I put Stott in there to break them up, but honestly, maybe I put Sosa ahead of Stott and have Stott, or I have Wilson behind Bader and then have Stott ahead of Sosa in that 8-9. It's just hard because I see all those righties. And at some point, would you get a lefty in there to break that up? But where would you go with the lefty to break that up? Maybe Wilson bats 7 because eventually you can pinch hit Kepler in there and break up that entire run. It's a very, very tricky, trying situation. Actually, I think that's what I do. I think I would have Wilson bat 7, Sosa 8, and Stott 9. Yeah. And I just have a tremendous run of righties that ends up getting broken up by Kepler when Kepler pinch hits for Wilson at some point in that game. Or Marsh, one of the two. But that's what I would be against lefties. So it's a very weird dynamic he has to work through the rest of the way. And one of the dynamics he's had to work through, I was reminded of in Miami, because the last time the Phillies were in Miami, we had a whole conversation about the guy, Nick Castellanos. The credit that he deserves, at least from what he said to Scott Lauber, that's coming up for you. I'm Wright Dunn. Take it through middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Trey Turner left yesterday's game early. I'm Sean Rodman, and Turner left the game in the 7th inning of the Phillies' loss to the Marlins yesterday with a hamstring injury. He'll have an MRI today to determine the severity of his injury. Phillies are back in action tonight at home against the Mets. Phillies currently sit 7 games up in the division over the Mets. Aaron Nola gets the start for the Phils, and Nolan McClain for the Mets. First pitch is at 6:45. No news yet on Jaylen Carter's punishment from the NFL. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, a decision could be announced as soon as today. The Eagles are working out former Bengals cornerback Mike Hilton, according to Jordan Schultz, and they've also signed Zadarius Smith, former Lion and Brown last season, another edge adding to that room. Nick Sirianni is scheduled to speak to the media at 3:15 today. We'll carry that live for you right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Sean Rodman, and this update is brought to you by AAA Tire and Auto Service. Save up to $30 on auto repair with the AAA Triple Play, only at AAA Tire and Auto Service. Offer valid through September 13th. Details at AAA.com/mycar. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
We're talking to Tim McManus here of ESPN, and a lot was made, I know, certainly by us, and just in talking leading up to the game, some callers, fans we were getting reaction from, about the new offensive coordinator and how it would look. How did you assess, kind of going deeper into that point just brought up of Hurts and Patullo in the operation, how did you assess the operation from a full game standpoint, given how hot it started and then how stagnant it got a little bit late?
Well, the fact that it started out hot is different. I mean, if we remember back from last year and people pulling their hair out because they couldn't score in the first quarter, that was a storyline that lasted, into November, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was...
We got to do the old
slow start.
Julio Jones is the last Eagle to have a first quarter touchdown. I remember breaking out that stat every week for about 2 months.
Yeah, and then here they came right out of the gates and they scored some touchdowns. So at least that puts that narrative to bed and shows that Patullo had a game plan that was effective early on, and then things slowed down. It's kind of a weird game to assess because both offenses really started to stall after the delay of game, and nobody could be stopped, before the Lightning came, and then after the Lightning came, nobody could score. So how much of that is Patullo adjustments, etc. There were a couple corner blitzes in succession that I watched where the offense just didn't really seem to have a great answer for. So I don't think it was a perfect game for Patullo. I think there are things to clean up, but I think if you look at it as a whole, the fact that it's his first game calling plays, first game working that operation with Jalen Hurts, and that they got off to that fast start, there's probably more encouraging things than not to build off of.
Speaking of encouraging, Jahad Campbell just absolutely, I thought, acquitted himself more than adequately. Playing alongside a guy like Zach Bond, I think that Vic Fangio, for me, a guy like Vic Fangio that wants to be able to run certain things, he's got 2 guys that are going to be able to run, I think, everything that he would like to run. You gave him car keys to 2 Maseratis, and I think that this is something that I think he's going to get better. He's still going to make those mistakes, and you're going to see that. But I would think that that's a guy that certainly has turned a lot of heads and has given into some of the expectations at this point early on.
An embarrassment of riches at linebacker. Like what
who are we? Who are we?
What is going on? I don't even know who we are anymore. At Campbell, I agree. What a debut. He flashed every day during training camp. It wasn't always perfect. In fact, I think in pass coverage was really sometimes where it got shaky. I remember a couple times that he gave up, whether it was a wheel route against Will Shipley or a touchdown to where he blew an assignment during the joint practices against the Browns, and you're like, okay, the passing game's maybe where he needs some refinement, and then you see that play where he just carries the field with Ferguson and comes up with that PBU, and it's like linebackers really don't do that. So you recognize that you have a special talent, and to your point, Amy, it's paired with another special talent in Zach Bond, who has a similar skill set in that way. That just opens up so many things. Like while we're talking about the restrictions in the secondary with the questions at safety and CB2 in particular, the flip side of that for Fangio is that if you have two linebackers like that, like, man, how creative can you get? And what different looks can you present an offense that they're not normally presented because they just don't have that ability at the linebacker position. So it's a new day in Philadelphia, I guess.
Through the 12 o'clock hour here, I'm Ray Dunn, hanging out with you here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I teased it a couple times. I'm going to get to it right off the jump here. Nick Castellanos spoke to the Philadelphia Inquirer while they were down in Miami. And, of course, there's a significance in being down in Miami. You remember the last trip down there, Sean Robin, don't you?
Yeah, if I don't recall, I do.
If you don't recall,
or if I do recall, I do. Yeah, good English there.
All right.
I recall, yes.
Yes, you remember.
Yes, I remember.
No need to get fancy with the words, Rodman.
Yeah.
Answer the damn question.
Yes, I remember.
All right. Yes, obviously, we all remember last time they were down there in Miami. He was replaced defensively at home. He has the whole goal to play in 162. And wow, how interesting everything would have played out if he had just reacted normally to being replaced for a defensive replacement. Would they still be trying to get him to play in all 162? Because that was a big thing for him. I don't think so, but it'd be interesting to see how they ended up justifying eventually giving him a day off. Phillies' Nick Castellanos says he's putting team goal ahead of personal success. He spoke to Scott Lauber of the Philadelphia Inquirer down there while they were in Miami this weekend, a series in which we didn't see a lot of him. Only saw him one game. And Rob Thompson said, it's gone to a platoon, pretty much you can call it at this point. Castellanos said, and this is important, I hate not being able to play as much as I want to play. But I can still be happy for these guys for being able to have success of their own. At the end of the day, it's a team goal, which is to win, right? Philly would much rather us win a World Series than all of us have good individual years. It's good to hear, or at least read, that Castellanos said that to Scott Lauber. That is the message he's trying to get across. I think it's important that he is trying to get that message across. Max Kepler has echoed that sentiment after he was upset about playing time earlier this year. Castellanos now echoing that sentiment. It is important for him to say that just because, again, it quells some of the conversation we have about how he's reacting to this, about how he's feeling about this. I can assure you that the beginning of that sentence is probably more important than anything else. I hate not being able to play as much as I want to play. It's definitely eating at him. I said it last week. I think we're watching a breakup in real time. I think that this is a situation that is able to work in September of a season where you are one of the odds-on favorites to win the World Series. Is it a situation that works when we get talking about November and December, looking ahead to the big picture of your upcoming season? Probably not. I imagine that this is where the two sides will begin to part, where this is where, hey, listen, we're going to do everything we can to win this season, and if you want to be an everyday player and you believe you should be a full-time player, in the offseason we're going to take care of you. And that conversation happens at some point down the line. It is good to see, however, that the message has at least permeate him and the locker room about this is what's best for the team to win. Because ultimately, it is what's best for this team to win right now. Defensively, there was always the argument that he should probably be replaced late in games because he just simply doesn't have the range that almost any other outfielder in baseball has. You know, he makes some tremendous sliding catches. He's made some good throws for you. But I would argue some of those sliding catches are a product of not having the range that other guys do, where they make that catch without having to go into a dive. Regardless, he makes those plays. You got to give him credit for those plays. And you give him credit for the way he's reacted to this. I just now wait to see how it plays out the rest. Like, if they hit adversity in September, how does he respond specifically? How does Kepler respond specifically? They're both saying the right things right now as this team's continuing to win. Also, they hit adversity in October. You know, and someone gets a chance to ask, hey, you know, how'd you feel about such and such pinch hit opportunity or such and such, you know, defensive replacement in that inning? And the way they respond then, when you're more emotional after a postseason game, when you're more emotional after something that happened that didn't go your way, is there still that internal feeling of pointing the finger and saying, yeah, that decision was wrong? Because that's the biggest thing that lays out to me right here. He's saying all the right things right now, and that's good to hear. I think he's saying it with the idea that this is probably it for him. But it's nice to see them on board, and I have to give credit where credit's due because we've talked a lot on these airwaves of how is Nick Castellanos going to handle this. And the first real inclination of how he's handling it right now that we've gotten, where he's sat down and talked about it at length with the reporter. You know, a week ago we had the check the egos conversation, and he mentioned that he wanted to play as much as he did. It seems like they've been able to react to that, and both sides realize, hey, this is what's for the better. And you have to give credit to Castellanos for at least having that conversation and breaking that down and saying, yeah, this is what's best. Because for me, I do believe this is what's best for the team. I think this is what's best for Castellanos when it comes to this team winning right now. They usually would let him try and hit out of the slump. That's just not the case right now. I mean, that's, again, he wasn't able to hit himself out of it. Maybe a change of scenery next year. He ends up finding an incredible season. But for you right now, it's crazy to say. It's a wonderful bit by Max Kepler, where as soon as everyone was ready to DFA the guy, he just turned it on in a way that no one really anticipated. But it's worked out for you. And it's been really, really fun to watch in terms of what he's been able to do over, again, the last month stretch while getting those starts in right field. And it also is the luxury of bringing in Harrison Bader here that has been able to really, really stabilize your outfield. That's what this comes back to. I mean, it's great. Like, I appreciate Kepler and Castellanos being professionals about what they're going through, platooning when they've both been productive outfielders in their careers in Major League Baseball. But the reason that platoon exists is because you stabilized your outfield at the deadline. And that's another big piece of this conversation where, like, I get it. Bader wasn't the sexy name that everyone wanted. But when he got here, he continued to hit the way he has this season. He's brought tremendous defense. Every time he reads the ball off the wall, I'm like, wow, this guy, like, it's very simple things. It's not even like I'm going to catch it at the wall, I'm going to save this game. It's like he plays the ball off the wall. It's like that's how that's supposed to look at center field. Like, not that it's been a problem I've had with Marsh for a while. I don't love the way it's from center field. He reads the ball off the wall. Especially I thought he's played at Monty's angle and, like, in Philadelphia long enough to, like, have a good read of that wall. Bader is just another level of it. And it's impressive to watch that level for you. But his entrance to this outfield has allowed the corners to be something that you can play with and has allowed the Phillies to find a real formula for success in the way that they design their outfield. And this is the way it's designed, the way it should be designed, and it's good to hear Castellanos at least acknowledge it. I give him credit. I don't think a lot of the city will give him credit for the fact that he got to this comment now, but I'd like to hear that, hey, I'm good. Even if you're not, giving us the facade, giving us the conversation, at least having yourself on the record to saying you're okay about it, instead of anonymous sources saying, wow, this guy's really upset. This guy's, there's a rift inside there. We haven't gotten that, and that's a credit to Castellanos for at least acknowledging the situation. But I'm curious if people can at least give him that credit of coming to this realization and putting the team first, because I know the way people around here feel about Castellanos. You get on that 610-632-0975. I want to go to a different set of problems we could potentially have in here. And we're going to get back to the Birds in a second here. How long until we get to a question about the discipline of this team following that first game of the season? It sounded all weekend. I was like, I'm not there yet, but that was particularly ugly in the way it started, but also the number of penalties. I'm Ray Dunn. Take you through middays right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, a Birds Insider update on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
We are still awaiting a decision. I'm Sean Rodman, and the NFL has not announced a decision quite yet on the severity of Jaylen Carter's punishment for spitting on Dak Prescott Thursday night. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports a decision could come as early as today. Over the weekend, the Eagles added some depth at the edge position. The team signed Zadarius Smith. He recorded 9.5 sacks last season, split between the Browns and the Lions when he was traded midway through the season. Eagles are working out former Bengals cornerback Mike Hilton today, according to Jordan Schultz, and Nick Sirianni is scheduled to speak to the media today at 3:15. We'll carry that live for you here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Eagles head to Kansas City for a Super Bowl rematch this Sunday as well. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best Birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man Ricky Bo, and Silvana Kelleher.
Every weekday at 2 p.m. right here on 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philly fans, you are the best sports fans in the world. You're not stupid, so why should you have to hear outlandish takes that make you shake your head?
You shouldn't. That's why Unfiltered is the show for you. Each afternoon from 2 to 6, we only bring you honest opinions and analysis.
We may not agree all the time, but what you hear is what we genuinely believe. It's not some rage bait to try to spark conversation. So make the switch to Unfiltered with me, Bill Colarulo, my man.
I'm Ray Dunn, hanging out with you here on Middays. Sean Robin, you see this? You see what the Phillies posted 2 hours ago on Instagram? I guess they posted in collaboration with Topps.
No, I did not see this.
New baseball card for Bryce Harper. He's holding a cheesesteak bat, hitting the ball. It's a cartoon image of him holding a cheesesteak bat, and you see the Wiz, which, by the way, I don't know if I can unleash this take. I had this whole back and forth on Twitter last week. I think Wiz is overrated. I'm not a big Wiz guy. I'll be honest with you. Cooper Sharp is like my top tier right now. Provolone's my safe bet. Wiz, I could do without. I get it. The whole Wiz wit. It's like kind of like the Hallmark thing. I'm good without. But this trading card, we got Wiz on the baseball, and he's swinging a cheesesteak bat.
You know, actually, I did see this.
Wiz Kid Bryce.
Someone sent on the text line, but you know how like sometimes those pictures are so small you can barely see what it is. I couldn't pick out what it was saying below with where it says Wiz Kid Bryce.
Yeah, I mean it's something. If I get the card, I probably wouldn't be upset because it'll probably be worth something someday.
It might, maybe.
Man, it's hard to have a problem with the guy that wants to be accepted here. Just like, we accept you, Bryce. You know it'd be better than a trading card? A home run tonight against the Mets. Joe McClain wants to like play in this league. That'd be good tonight. Can I sign up for that? Can I get that?
Sure.
That's more what I'm looking for tonight. I didn't need the trading card today. Also, the trading card coming today on the day of the Mets series, after all we did talking about that rivalry pack the last time around. Like, pick battles here. Pick your spots. Battle that I'm going to not yet pick with Nick Sirianni and crew, but I think is important with the future of this group following week one, the discipline. Because this has been an attention to detail, focus, all the buzzwords that Sirianni wants to throw at you. It's been something that they have talked about time and time again. Oh, yeah, we have the attention to detail. We have the focus about channeling your emotions, how you play with your emotions and not let them get the best of you. That was a team that was penalized way too much in week one. I think they were penalized in the first half more than anyone was in the first half all last season. Like, it was ugly. And every time you saw Laundry hit the field, you were like, what in the world? What do they do now? And it started out with the Jaylen Carter, obviously, incident where he's spitting on Dak Prescott, gets himself ejected. I'm not yet going to get to the idea that there's a discipline problem. And I think there's a strong enough culture inside of NovaCare that this gets taken care of. But I thought it was very interesting the amount of conversation that was had from both Jalen Hurts to Nick Sirianni talking about discipline, specifically the franchise quarterback. Here's Jalen Hurts with NBC following the game on Thursday night.
I think our discipline wasn't in it early in the game. Well, we see that in the beginning of the game and how it started. But great job by our defense being able to battle and respond. Guys step in and fill those roles. So be a lot to learn from, man. But we came into this game talking about discipline and focus, and we'll leave it saying the same things. So whether it's our execution or just our overall temperament as we approach it as a team, we just got to be better.
A temperament is more where I'm going to here. And maybe it was just being fired up to get back out there and try and defend your Super Bowl title. And maybe as much as they say it doesn't matter to them to defend the Super Bowl title, maybe there was a little bit of that, like, hey, we're back at home. The expectations on us are really high. You know, this is a team we should beat. Like, maybe you're just you go in a little too amped rivalry game and you just kind of overcorrect and you just go too much into the emotion there. But the penalties, the chippiness, I mean, there was a point in that game Thursday where I was worried about Cooper DeJean, how much he had gotten of a face mask, whether or not he had taken the helmet off, and whether he was going to end up getting himself thrown out of that game. Like, all those things for me, I was sitting there like, oh, like, chippiness here is a lot. Like, you know, the Go Birds guy in you is like, yeah, stick it to the Cowboys. And then there's the realist in you that's like, okay, guys, you got to be able to channel that emotion a little bit better. You got to be able to play through that a little bit better. And I go through what you lost in terms of leadership. Yeah, Brandon Graham isn't there. Slay's not there. But when you work through this team, there's a lot that returns that should be able to keep you in check. And the head coach is still there. Defensive coordinator is still there. Kevin Patullo, from what we've been told, has been pretty, much the right-hand man there for Sirianni for a long time. So a lot of the leadership, whether it be from the 53-man or from the coaching staff, is still there. And it just leaves me scratch my head a little bit that they came out that undisciplined to start the season. Sirianni talked about cleaning stuff up after that first game as well.
We want to be there. We want to have great, like I said, energy, tenacity, all those different things, but we got to do it within the rules of the game. And, we'll address that. We'll go through that, but we got to get better in that scenario because we need that guy on the field. He's a really good player.
So my question for you is, how long before you start to ask the question of whether or not this team is undisciplined? 1 week is too small a sample size. One half. They came out with a lot of energy that first half, and they got themselves penalized a ton. They also had because it's not unfair, but they just had the pressure of being that first team where the NFL spent all training camp trying to emphasize sportsmanship, trying to emphasize that taunting rule, and you gave them 2 prime examples of what not to do right off the jump. Like, They were like, I'm against the taunting rule. I honestly didn't think of that scenario, that it was that egregious of a taunt where it should have been a flag. But if the NFL wants to make an example out of someone, there it is. If the NFL wants to make an example out of the sportsmanship deal, there it is. So that plays against you a little bit, and you are the first game. A lot of eyes on you. I understand. But even with that, you can't be penalized as much as you were in that first half and as much as you were in that game. When do you start to run out of any sort of patience for that discipline with this team? I'm curious for you to break that down for me, and you can jump in on that conversation at 610-632-0975. Coming up, we'll get to our text line. Our guy Silva wants to talk about that game last night, some of the quarterbacks in the NFL, and we got the Rodman Report at 1 o'clock, a busy 1 o'clock hour coming your way here on the Midday Show. I'm Ray Dunn.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
The Phils, they lost Trey Turner when he left the game early yesterday. I'm Sean Rodman, and this update is brought to you by Bradford White. Bradford White, when you need a new water heater, choose one that is built to be the best. Choose Bradford White. Trey Turner left the game in the 7th inning yesterday. The Phillies lost to the Marlins with a hamstring injury. Turner will have an MRI today to determine his severity of that injury. Phillies are back in action today, though, against the Mets, as they sit 7 games above the Mets in the division heading into tonight's game. Aaron Nola gets a start for the Phils. Nolan McClain gets a start for the Mets. First pitch is at 6:45. No news on Jaylen Carter's punishment quite yet as well. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, a decision could be announced as soon as today. The Eagles are working out former Bengals cornerback Mike Hilton, according to Jordan Schultz, and they've also signed Zadarius Smith, another edge, to that pass rush room. Nick Sirianni is scheduled to speak to the media at 3:15 today. We'll carry that live for you here on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update is also brought to you by Dell Technologies. The new Dell AI PC with Intel Core Ultra helps you fast forward through your busy work, leaving more time for you time. Get yours at Dell.com/AI PC. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Really want to just find out from Howie, why didn't you bring back Rodgers? Why didn't you bring back Isaiah Rodgers? You could have avoided this big void in your defense by simply re-signing Isaiah Rodgers.
Yeah, but
I
there's
said this to
something
you
here.
2 months ago.
You did.
I was right all along.
Yeah, you were. The whole point to this is you guys were both right about the situation. They should have kept Rodgers. There's no doubt about it. By the way, they didn't. Move on. Get off of that wagon.
You're right. You
got to
move on.
You both got to get off of that wagon.
You're correct.
Well,
I'm coming at you now, too.
I don't keep bringing it up there, Skippy.
Skippy.
I love this.
No, you're right, though. We got to move on. It's just frustrating when you're watching these games because
I know, but
every offensive coordinator is going to attack the opposite cornerback to Quinyon Mitchell.
You got to think about how are they going to fix it now? Is Adoree Jackson the answer? I don't think so.
after what I saw last night? I would say no.
You see how that skews people's opinions of things. You only read the headline. Oh, AJ must be upset. He didn't sound upset. He's going to do what he needs to do to win.
He sounded like he understood what happened. Exactly. I was there. He wasn't upset. It's the way that it goes. He mentioned I can't control when the ball comes to me, but he talked about the effort and being ready when his number's called, and he always is ready when his number's called. So you see the effort and the toughness manifest in different ways. Sometimes you can't really – he finds ways to affect the game without always having to be ball-centric. But there's going to be games where he's going to get his, and that it could be 8 or 10 receptions in a game.
You're tuned in to WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibility. I'm Wright, done bringing you through the midday show today. A lot of conversations surrounding both the football we watched over the weekend and, of course, this Phillies team leading into the Mets series tonight. Now, that game last night, Sean Rodman, old man, couldn't power through, couldn't stay up. You know, it's like, oh, these guys, it's a double-digit game. I'll catch the final score tomorrow.
Oh, my. Yeah, not exactly what happened, but yes, I fell asleep early.
Oh, it's all right. I need to get myself to bed.
Mind you, eyes were going in and out at one point until the fumble.
No, I said that I leaned back like, you know, if sleep takes me here, sleep will take me. Didn't. I'm a football guy. I'm tough. I powered through those things. All right? You know?
Yeah, you and your hamstring injury.
Hey, I'm just saying, you are in a week 1 setup. I'm already in mid-season form. All right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had the phone going, watching Red Zone, walking around. I was good.
I'm happy for you.
I need to get to bed. Let the kids know I'll talk to them tomorrow. It's all right. It's all right. You're getting up there in age, buddy. You're getting up there in age.
Yeah.
You're aging quickly. That game was tremendous last night. And I asked the question earlier in the show, just watching the NFL, what was the biggest takeaway for you, but also specifically watching the quarterbacks. Last night you saw just tremendous, 2 of the best going at it. And you saw Josh Allen with a tremendous close to that game. I asked, outside of them, because they had a good game, Herbert, I wasn't necessarily blown away by the quarterback play week 1, but I don't know if there was so much energy towards the rest of the quarterbacks. So Silver and Germantown wanted to get it on that, and also that game last night. Silver, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Yo, yeah, man. Last night, man, you seen QB1 and you seen QB2. in the NFL. Everybody else needs to stand behind them. And like I said, Jalen Hurts, I love Jalen Hurts. But, you know, at the end of the day, I'm a realist. And, you know, they're the best two quarterbacks in the league. If you put A.J. Brown on any of those teams, they'll go to the Super Bowl. If you put Devontae Smith on any of those teams, they'll go to the Super Bowl. So, you know, hopefully we'll see both of them in the AFC Championship. And that's probably what's going to happen. And we'll be ready for them in the Super Bowl. You know, I don't think they're going to beat us, but, you know, it'll be a great Super Bowl to watch.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that. I mean, at peak powers, that Allen Diggs thing was tremendous. They never did get over the hump. You know, what I guess with Lamar, the best he's had in terms of a weapon through the air would be what, peak Andrews? I'm trying to think what wide receiver you had that was better than that. Like, I understand what you're saying. They could be better with the weapons around them. Allen is just, I mean, like, and I'm not going to argue with you that I think either that Hurts is better than either of those guys, because I watch either of those guys and, you know, I think they are a part of that top four that I always mention that are, you know, the tier one of this league. But I don't know. It's interesting that you bring that up and like the way you look at, I don't necessarily watch those games last night as like a, wow, isn't that something? Like, I've seen Hurts and Allen have the back and forth 2023, and that was a substantially worse Eagles team than the one a season ago, and they won that game. And like, Hurts had himself a game in that game. Like, I don't know. To me, as much as I understand what he's saying there about like the way they are, I do think that they are probably right now talent, like just the way they're producing, 1 and 2. I would probably lean Allen, Jackson, Burrow, Mahomes right now with the way that they're playing, even though I guess the way Burrow starts his season, I end up I'll probably still leave him at 3 in the power rankings there. I know that Mahomes got them back to another Super Bowl, and that should play into the equation here. But just in terms of the big picture, like taking everything into account of all their games and where they're at career-wise, that's probably the way you would grade them out. But I didn't watch last night like, wow, like this quarterback play is just like, I watch it, wow, like this quarterback play is great. But like, wow, this quarterback play is so great, I'm so upset about what I have. Like, that's not, I didn't add that extra caveat at the end. I watched it, I was like, that's pretty great. And I didn't give really too thought to the, oh yeah, let me go put A.J. Brown on their team. Like, those are great quarterbacks. They are the best right now at what they're doing. You saw a great display week 1. But I didn't have that full reaction where Silver takes it to the next level of being like, yeah, wow, you know, I'm upset with what I have. I'm not. All right, 1 o'clock. Sean Rodman, it's time for the Rodman Report.
Now, the Rodman Report.
Alrighty. Now, Ray, when you were in this chair for a very, very long time, and I just wanted to, you had a lot of Bill Belichick stuff.
I did.
And now we're not going to go to the Bill Belichick girlfriend situation.
Oh,
but
that was a classic of mine. I drove Double M crazy with the amount of time I spent on that. I think he was driven nuts by it. I think Bill was entertained by it. But I definitely, in retrospect, Pablo Torre is probably the only person in the media that spent more time on the Bill Belichick situation than I did.
Well, we're going to go back to it today. And not because that there is a girlfriend situation, but there's a bit of a messy breakup, I would say.
Ooh.
Between Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. Here's what Bill Belichick had to say over the weekend about Patriots executive scouts coming to the University of North Carolina facility.
Yeah, well, no, it's clear that I'm not welcome there around their facility, and so they're not welcome in ours. Pretty simple.
Now, it was added a little bit later that Belichick said that if there were scouts and they were seriously interested in a UNC player, that they would allow any means for them to contact that player and scout them and be able to go to those games. However, we have an update on that situation from Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel was quoted, I believe it was earlier today, saying that Bill came back for the best, to the best of my knowledge, for Tom's ceremony back in 2024. Vrabel said in his weekly interview with sports radio WEEI, referencing Belichick's appearance at Tom Brady's in-stadium Team Hall of Fame ceremony in June of 2024. Then Vrabel also quoted, "So I guess he's welcome back based on the fact that he was here. I'll just go by that. Since his departure as the head coach is here, he's been back. I'll leave it at that."
Wow. Bad blood. I mean, there was always bad blood between the Patriots and Belichick. You could tell that. Like, he and Kraft clearly had a falling out there. Vrabel, though, I thought Vrabel was supposed to be like we're going back. Well, I guess Vrabel gets the job after they get rid of Belichick's guy in Mayo.
But he brings back Belichick's guy as his offensive coordinator, and Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, that's very awkward for Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels kind of like the connective link here.
And Vrabel and Belichick, to my knowledge, had a good relationship.
That's
or
what I
have a
thought.
good relationship.
I thought they had a good relationship too. McDaniel, I mean, I guess he's just glad to have a job because he's had enough
bounce around.
Yeah, he's fired up the resume enough times where it's like, please, that house I bought here in New England a long time ago, just let me stay here at this point. Like, let me just ride it out. Like, I think he's one of those that I just want to be the offensive coordinator at this point, man. Just pay me whatever you pay me. Let me just do this. Let us succeed, please. I mean, how many different places has he been? Let me go look at that one.
He was a head coach back in Denver a long time ago. He was with the Raiders as well at one point. He's bounced around now.
Maybe I'm blowing this up in my head.
A couple of stops, but I don't know if he's been, because it feels like he's been back to New England maybe twice now.
Yeah, okay. So here's New England is the offensive coordinator. Denver is the head coach. St. Louis is the offensive coordinator. New England is the offensive coordinator for a while. Vegas as the head coach, and now back to New England. I feel like after your third time back, it's like, just let me stay here.
Yeah, we actually, in this case scenario, we have Belichick in a bad breakup that he can't get over with the Patriots at the moment, and then you have Josh McDaniels that always goes back to the old girlfriend.
Josh McDaniels is the one that seeks something new and then realizes what he had was better all along.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, this is going to be better for me. It's never better for you. You're never getting hotter than as Tom Brady's offensive coordinator. That's what you needed. That was what was going to make you the best, and you failed on that. You failed beyond that. But just being Tom Brady's offensive coordinator, that's cool. You get invited to all the ceremonies, just like Belichick did. So the actual point here of the bad blood, Belichick, I think here is... Am I crazy to say Belichick's gotten media savvy enough where he's engagement baiting?
He might be. Like, is it trying to get some of the pressure off of that bad loss against TCU?
All of a sudden, Belichick had no idea what snap face was, years ago. But now all of a sudden, he's got an idea of, well, if I say this one, I'll get the people talking about how much the Patriots and I have problems. Instead of, now he's always been media savvy in the way that he'll just ignore the media. But this was one where it's almost like creatively trying to spin the narrative as like, yeah, don't talk about the bad start to the season. Go ahead and talk about, the fact that those Patriots really screwed me, huh?
Now, the media savviness trying to turn stories in your own way. Is this the young girlfriend helping him in that way?
Nah, I think
we going too far here now?
Yeah, I think we're reading too far into this. I think he's able to figure this one out himself. I wanted to look because I didn't go and actually see what the final score of that one was on Saturday. 20-3 over Charlotte. Charlotte not supposed to be good.
No.
This year. To the point where App State beat them by more than what UNC beat them by. Just letting you know that October 18th, your 2-0 Temple Owls will have Charlotte at Charlotte. So, trying to stack wins here, trying to get bowl eligible. I think we're going to be visited by our good friend Casey Keeler again this week on the program ahead of
big game this weekend at
the
the
Oklahoma game. But yeah, I don't think this is girlfriend. How about the girlfriend being on the field?
Yeah, that's also interesting. Loud on the field. You talked to her during a timeout, was it?
I even talked to her during warm-ups, man. Like, your girlfriend was sitting out there, right here, like during the show, like in the break. You just go out there and talk to her for a while. Like, don't you think that'd be distracting to the overall workflow?
Probably a tad distracting, yes.
Yeah, you think? Like, I get it. You're not Bill Belichick, but like, it would be a little bit problematic for us as a working environment here. Vrabel providing the response, at least tries to quell the Patriots side of this. I don't know. It feels like Belichick's just looking for attention on this one.
It does feel like he's trying to get a bit of attention on this one, I will say. Also, the line for that Charlotte game, they barely covered. It was 16.5 heading into.
Wow. They were only 16.5 point favorites against the Charlotte team that lost to App State by 23.
Well, TCU did beat UNC 48-14 in the week prior on national television.
What's UNC got next? UNC's got Richmond. So I'll help them. They better win that one. They'll be 2-1. And they got UCF, and I've been following UCF.
And I don't have a point spread on that Richmond game right now.
They should win that one pretty handily. The Belichick thing, has it lost a little bit of its luster after they got smoked?
Probably.
Because this does feel like a desperate plea for attention here. I'll be honest, I didn't think twice about watching Belichick. I was in Charlotte over the weekend, at least connected through. I got my Bojangles during the connection, the layover. And I didn't even think, oh yeah, UNC Charlotte was this weekend. I wonder what happened until this segment. Sad for him. I think he's starting to realize he didn't just lose his fastball. He's lost all the off-speed stuff too. He's not getting anybody out anymore. It's tough to see. Tough to watch. All right. Coming up through the rest of the 1 o'clock hour. Great job there, Rodman, by the way. I want to jump back into some of the things we got into earlier with regards to the Eagles. What we heard with regards to a Carter suspension. What we heard from Nick Wright about this team after week 1. And then later in the bottom of the hour, Phillies, Mets, Aaron Nola tonight. I need someone to answer my big problem for me. If Nola gives up 5 in the first inning, because I'm going to this game, but I'm going to get there late tonight, and I see that he's giving up 5 in the first inning, would it be wrong for me as a fan to just not go? I'm going to end up going anyways. But would it be wrong for me to just not go? If hypothetical man was in that situation, would it be wrong? 610-632-0975. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through the Midday Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Monday, September.
Really want to just find out from Howie. Why didn't you bring back Rodgers? Why didn't you bring back Isaiah Rodgers? You could have avoided this big void in your defense by simply re-signing Isaiah Rodgers.
Yeah, but I said this to you 2 months ago.
You did.
I was right all along.
Yeah, you were. The whole point to this is you guys were both right about the situation. They should have kept Rodgers. There's no doubt about it. By the way, they didn't. Move on. Get off of that wagon.
You're right. You got to move on.
You both got to get off of that wagon.
You're correct.
I'm coming at you now, too.
I don't keep bringing it up there, Skippy.
Skippy.
I love this.
No, you're right, though. We got to move on. It's just frustrating when you're watching these games because
I know, but
every offensive coordinator is going to attack the opposite cornerback to Quinyon Mitchell.
You got to think about how are they going to fix it now? Is Adoree Jackson the answer? I don't think so. After what I saw last night, I would say no.
You see how that skews people's opinions of things. You only read the headline. AJ must be upset. He didn't sound upset.
He's going to do what he needs to do to win. He sounded like he understood what happened.
Exactly. I was there. He wasn't upset. It's the way that it goes. He mentioned I can't control when the ball comes to me, but he talked about the effort and being ready when his number's called, and he always is ready when his number's called. So you see the effort and the toughness manifest in different ways. Sometimes you can't really – he finds ways to affect the game without always having to be ball-centric. But there's going to be games where he's going to get his, and that it could be 8 or 10 receptions in a game.
One o'clock hour here on the Midday Show. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through it here on 97.5 The Fanatic. A reset here of where we've been. Turner, the injury over the weekend, yesterday. We're still waiting for news on the hamstring strain. We're still waiting for news on the Jaylen Carter. We're waiting for a lot of news right now. We're sitting here. We got on there for 4 hours. They couldn't drop one piece of breaking news on us. They get to use the breaking news sounder 6 times this afternoon.
It's unfair.
It's unfair.
Unfair.
I hate it. What's the deal with this? Give me something. Give me a little morsel. But that Turner injury news, or just the injury and waiting for the news now, it just kept making me feel like I did a week ago when I came in here and told you. It's just like it feels like this is the team that's the one that's getting away from you. It's the one that's getting away from you. There's so many reasons why it can't work. You want it to, but it's just not going to be able to. And that's kind of what this team feels like to me. Every time something like this pops up. Obviously what happened with Wheeler, now, we're talking about Turner potentially having an absence here with the hamstring. I'm hoping it's something minor, but the last time he had a hamstring, it was the other leg, but it was a 6-week absence, and 6 weeks from right now, we are well into the postseason, deep into October, and then just getting him back. What will he look like when he comes back? That's the biggest concern because he was timid last year running post-hamstring. That's a concern. And then we got plenty of Eagles conversation that we will get into in just a second. But Drew in New Jersey wanted to get in on the question I posed about Aaron Nola because I'm showing up late to the game tonight. I got softball postseason, right? My team needs me. Game's at 6. We'll be done by 7, but team needs me. And then from 7 o'clock, we'll get moving. We'll get in the car, get down to the game. Phillies Mets have to be there. But Nola's been known to the big first innings. How should I react if I get in the car? And there's been a big first inning that's been had at his expense. Drew is giving us his opinion. Drew, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
How are you guys? I go. Keep going, unless you're still in Center City, but go down there, have a beer, see what happens. Give it a couple innings. If it's still 7-2 after 5, I say good night.
Oh, so you're telling me that I got to show up late and leave early? See, I'm not leaving early. If I go down to the game, I'm definitely not leaving early at that point.
See how it's progressing. If they're starting to get into it, yeah, you might see an extra inning game, something like that. But if it's going nowhere after 5 innings, I'm out.
Wow,
that's just me. That's just me. Sorry.
After 5,
Monday night.
I know it's a Monday night, but after 5 is a what? So with this again. If he gives up a lot in the early innings of this game, likely that first inning bleeds into somewhere towards the 7 o'clock hour, even with the pitch clock. You get close to 7 o'clock. I probably get down to the game 7:15, 7:20. So we're talking about I'll be in there for like the 3rd-ish inning. So you're telling me 2 innings worth of action? I don't know if I can justify going down there for just 2 innings worth of action.
See if the game's getting any better. If not, you're out. I'm out. Sorry. I'll go somewhere and watch Monday Night Football.
All right, Drew. I appreciate you checking in. Oof, man. I did not anticipate the old show up late and leave early tactic here. I can't do both those things at the same night. It's a one or the other for me.
Now, does Monday Night Football play a factor? And like he mentioned, he would go.
With all due respect,
Vikings
to the Vikings
Bears doesn't do it for you.
No, and that fits Phillies Mets. I got tickets to Phillies Mets. I don't care that it's Nola on the mound. I got Phillies Mets tickets. That was the whole thing when they were telling us the softball playoffs were tonight. Like, we were supposed to have them Wednesday night. They got moved to Monday night, and I was like, all right, it's tough, but
still going to make it work.
Yeah, you got to make it work. You got to figure it out. I had myself listed as questionable in the original injury report because I had these tickets, and then figured out a way that someone's going to get me down there. I can't justify Vikings, Bears. I'll watch the second half of it from wherever. I feel like tonight will end up where I end up across the street at Stateside Live watching the second half of that game. Or that's where I'll end up watching it, then I'll end up going home and put together the show sheet and go to bed. Like, that'll be what I end up doing. But, I can't do both. You can't show up late and leave early. And I'm not a big leave early guy.
No.
I don't have to be. It's a luxury of living in the city. Now, where if the cuts happened with SEPTA, I would have by the start of the year I would have been singing a different tune. But the fact that I could just take the Broad Street line, get on home, I don't have to leave early. I mean, it's a pain with all those people piled up like sardines, but it's also why Stateside Live for one post game isn't a bad idea either. Let the crowd dissipate. I'm on my way. Plus, I'm going with my roommates tonight. Easy to be on my way. One thing I want to play for you here, because we reacted to it earlier, and I just want to react to it one more time. We're waiting the Jaylen Carter discipline hearing, decision, whatever you want to call it. And Jonathan Jones, who covers the NFL for CBS, was on Sunday morning leading into everything and mentioned the different factors that could be at play for this suspension. And he mentioned that a college game over the weekend could have bearing on the decision with Carter. Take a listen to what he had to say.
What could be held against Jaylen Carter are the actions of the Florida Gators defensive player Brendan Bett on Saturday, where he spit on a USF player in the closing moments of that game. Because what the NFL is going to say is, we are the guys who set the standard. And this bad sportsmanship that we continue to, right there on the right, as we continue what the NFL will say to emphasize the sportsmanship, is that bad habits and bad sportsmanship trickles down to lower levels. Well, we saw Jaylen Carter on Thursday spit on an opponent, and then on Saturday, a Florida Gator spit on an opponent. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that will be held against Jaylen Carter. That did not help his case.
Wrong. It should not be held against Jaylen Carter that a Florida player watched Thursday, saw Carter get ejected, a penalty called on him, and then had Carter apologize post-game, and then decided, it'd be really smart for me to do on Saturday? Spit on someone. That'll work out well for me. It worked out so well for the guy that did in the pros 2 days ago. The NFL being stewards of the game, well, congrats. You did a great job at teaching a lesson of what will happen if you spit on someone during the game. You did your job in that case, NFL. The college players should know from watching that it's a bad idea. So that college player making a dumb decision should not impact your decision on whether or not you suspend Jaylen Carter. His pocket should be a lot lighter. But the precedent for this is not a suspension. And I get you're trying to really send a message. You sent the message. One of the best defensive players in the league was not available for the entirety of the first game of the season. Message sent. Message received. I guess the college guy didn't receive it, but that's his own fault. He should have realized. It's not Jaylen Carter's fault that kid didn't realize what was wrong. That better not impact their decision that we would, again, anticipate getting at some point today. Will we get it? I don't know. We're supposed to be Monday. I want it during this show, but, all right. Colorado gets what Colorado wants. Whatever. Coming up, the other thing that drove me nuts that I heard this week. It was after we got off the air on Friday. I saw this. Nick Wright talked about the Eagles and their Super Bowl chances. Played it for you earlier. I want to play it one more time to laugh at it before I get into Phillies Mets and dive into what we need to see tonight and this week for the local ball club. I'm Ray Dunn, taking you through the Midday Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sports Update.
Trey Turner left the game early yesterday. I'm Sean Rodman, and Turner left the game in the 7th inning of the Phillies' loss to the Marlins with a hamstring injury. Here is Turner talking to the media after the game, and Turner...
on me. Didn't feel good. Just felt like if, I could have kept going, I would have. Not get out of there and try to limit the damage.
Turner saying there, they got a little cut off, that he wanted to limit the damage after he felt a little bit of a tweak there. Phillies are back in action at home against the Mets tonight. Phillies currently sit 7 games up in the division heading into the series. Aaron Nola gets a start for the Phils and Nolan McClain for the Mets. First pitch is at 6:45. No news on Jaylen Carter quite yet on the NFL's punishment. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, a decision could be announced as soon as today. The team is working out former Bengals cornerback Mike Hilton, according to Jordan Schultz today as well. And Nick Sirianni is scheduled to speak to media at 3:15. We'll carry that live for you right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. And this update is brought to you by Groundworks. Your trained and certified experts for basement waterproofing and foundation repair since 1997. Book your free inspection at groundworks.com. I'm Sean Rodman on the home of the best birds coverage, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Really want to just find out from Howie. Why didn't you bring back Rodgers? Why didn't you bring back Isaiah Rodgers? You could have avoided this big void in your defense by simply re-signing Isaiah Rodgers.
Yeah, but there's
something
I said this to you
here.
2 months ago.
You did.
I was right all along.
Yeah, you were. The whole point to this is you guys were both right about the situation. They should have kept Rodgers. There's no doubt about it. By the way, they didn't. Move on. Get off of that wagon.
You're right. You
You
move
both
on.
got to get off of that wagon.
You're correct.
Well,
I'm coming at you now too.
I don't keep bringing it up there, Skippy.
Skippy.
I love this.
No, you're right though. We got to move on. It's just frustrating when you're watching these games because
I know, but you
every offensive coordinator is going to attack the opposite cornerback to Quinyon Mitchell.
You got to think about how are they going to fix it now? Is it Jory Jackson the answer? I don't think so. After what I saw last night, I would say no.
You see how that skews people's opinions of things. You only read the headline. Oh, AJ must be upset. He didn't sound upset. He's going to do what he needs to do to win.
He sounded like he understood what happened.
Exactly. I was there. He wasn't upset. It's the way that it goes. He mentioned I can't control when the ball comes to me, but he talked about the effort and being ready when his number's called, and he always is ready when his number's called. So you see the effort and the toughness manifest in different ways. Sometimes you can't really – he finds ways to affect the game without always having to be ball-centric. But there's going to be games where he's going to get his, and that it could be 8 or 10 receptions in a game.
through the 1 o'clock hour here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Ray Dunn taking you through the program. Phillies Mets tonight. We'll get to it in a second. I just want to get annoyed at this again. All right. Nick Wright on Fox Sports 1. I'm excited to see if he keeps the same energy for the Kansas City Chiefs, who are actually 0-1. Because this is what he had to say about the Eagles' 1-0 start.
I thought I was probably going to be higher on them this year than I had been any year in the past. And I know it's going to seem reactionary, but through one game, I have seen enough. That team is not getting back to the Super Bowl. And when it starts to go sideways and it starts to look like, oh, yeah, they're not quite the same team, you know what's going to be said? Should have seen it coming.
So, two things. As we, I want to break down the take here from him, okay? Because it's a really weak way to get engagement. Because it's a very, very easy goalpost to hit. You want to look throughout history and say, oh, how many teams haven't gotten back to the Super Bowl after the year they won it? How difficult it is to go back-to-back, to back-to-back Super Bowls, to just appear in back-to-back Super Bowls, forget winning back-to-back Super Bowls. History doesn't exactly favor you in that one. So it's very easy for Nick Wright to say, well, they don't look like a team that's going to get back there. Well, no kidding. When you want to go one versus the other 15 in the conference, the odds would tell you that the 15 in the conference have a pretty strong capability of doing so. Just by nature of the NFL and nature of what history tells us. So it's pretty weak to set the bar there. And then he doesn't really give you the whole how it's going to go sideways. It is, oh, it should have happened. You know, it should have happened. We'll know. Like, we'll see it happen. It should happen that way. That, to me, is a weak way to give you analysis on what that team was. And by the way, the second part of this, a year ago, the Eagles started 2-2. When they won their third game, we were all still livid. The coach brought the kids up to the podium, and we had the conversation for a week that they barely beat the Browns. He was yelling at fans. What a disaster. There was no way through 5 weeks last year people were clamoring for them to be Super Bowl contenders. It takes time to put things together. Things changed. Very easy for him to end up planting the flag here and saying I was right, because nobody really looks that way early, and it's very hard to go to back-to-back Super Bowls. So it was a weak display on his part. To the point of his Chiefs, they lose Friday night. Do they look like a team that's going back to another Super Bowl? And did they, for a lot of last year, look like they were going back to another Super Bowl? They were pulling out one-score games like crazy. That was like, I don't know if this can keep up. Point is, do they have the talent? Do they have players that can make this happen? Yes. Are there things to clean up after week one? Yes. But that was so incredibly reactionary and just obnoxious that I felt I had to address it. It got 2 plays on today's show. So, didn't dedicate all 4 hours to it. But after Thursday, no. I didn't all of a sudden go, you know what? Let me just put down a little Super Bowl future ticket for them. But I also did say, hey, yeah, this is a team that's got no shot. You know what good teams do? Find a way to win. They won. Did the job. They're 1-0. I expected sloppy week 1 football, that they would not cover the spread. My expectations were met. For some people, your expectations weren't met. But by the time we got to the end of Friday's show, I felt like there was a lot of, hey, just enjoy the win, man. People out there, as we kept reminding them that the Eagles were 1-0. There's things to clean up. But like I told you, I'm not overreacting this team until or unless their third loss comes before their third win. That's my barometer for early season reactions. We'll break down everything they're doing, but I'm not going to start making grand statements about where they're at and where they're going to go until we hit that point, because that statement to me is just stupid. and very, very, again, moving the goalposts in a tremendous light to try and make yourself look smart. All right. Let's get back to the text line here because I know we've had a lot of engagement on a number of different things we've gotten into today. And I'm going to give you dealer's choice, Sean Rodman. What would you like to get to on the text line 610-632-0975?
All right, let's go back to the Jaylen Carter situation. Rick from the Northeast Philly saying they should suspend Carter one game.
That's it? No explanation?
No explanation.
No explanation.
I do have another text, and Sean from Cinnaminson on the opposite end of that spectrum saying, Carter, he has a player ever been suspended on what Carter has done or just fined? The answer to that as well is just fined from about 3 different times. Terrell Owens once, Marcus Peters was another in 22, and there's one other time in between that. I believe it was Sean Taylor in 06. All have been fined, but obviously the NFL want to make a potential new, I guess, level of punishment for that as well. But he also checking in saying, I don't recall that anyone getting a suspension. Also, that Florida game take is horrible. Carter got kicked out of the game. Fine him and move on.
Yeah, so there are some examples throughout history on this one. Mike Florio and Pro Football Talk did the whole deep dive. Their research department went down history to try to figure it out. Precedent doesn't support a suspension. Past incidents of spitting have resulted in a fine only. Here are the ones that they found. If you want to talk more recent ones, you mentioned the Sean Taylor one, 2005 playoffs, $17,000 amount of his playoff game check. T.O., $35,000 for spitting at D'Angelo Hall. Hall was actually calling for Owens to be suspended. Owens did not get suspended. And then 2020, Marcus Peters, $12,500 for spitting at Jarvis Landry. Now, it's hard, again, to lean into that precedent. Obviously, we take into account what they were talking about going into the season, about sportsmanship, about being stewards of the game. Guess what? The NFL made its point. If the NFL only gave a 15-yard penalty to him and let him stay in that game, and that was the only way he was penalized, and they went through the entire process of reviewing everything that happened, and they were like, yeah, Jaylen Carter was solely in the wrong here. That was wrong of him. Now we have to suspend him. I could understand that logic because all that they really lost was 15 yards there. The Eagles lost a full game of Jaylen Carter. They didn't get him for a single snap. Opening night. There's the punishment. He was ejected. You let everyone know you do that, you will be ejected. And I imagine if he ever does it again, there will be a suspension to be had. But there is no precedent for that happening in the NFL. And you already took him out of an entire game. There you go. There's the suspension. That's the one game. Make the wallet a little lighter and move on. Carter's got to be better, and we got to move on. I know there was a column this weekend that was like the Eagles should suspend him internally. No, they shouldn't do that either. They got to be more disciplined as a group, given all the penalties from last week. But no, let's not go crazy on that one either. What else we got on the text line?
All right, heading over to the baseball world, Lisa in Bethlehem checking in saying, I watch this team nearly every day, and Max Kepler has actually been hitting the ball hard all year. He was missing too much early in the year, but more often than not, his outs were hit well, and he actually had 6 early season game-winning RBIs.
So, to the point of Max Kepler and the exit velo, it was funny that, like, while we were talking about DFAing him, he was hitting the ball hard at people, but it was like at that point, you've lost so much of the support around here that, like, and honestly, I got to the point, I was like, wherever you're hitting, it's going to someone. Like, I'm sorry. I can't necessarily say, like, tough go for Max Kepler. To say that, everything hasn't worked for him is probably an overstatement. He has hit, there has been plenty of hard hit balls for him. His hard hit percentage is somewhere in the middle percentile, like somewhere in the middle of baseball. So it's not necessarily something that I say like, oh, he's been victimized more than anyone else I've ever seen. And how could we not believe in the guy? There's been justifiable reasons to believe the guy wasn't going to put it all together for you this season. It's been encouraging to see him now put that together and see him have the turnaround that he's had. I can't say I totally feel bad for him. He's got a very low batting average of balls in play, but like, part of that is also, some guys benefit from the fact that they just go with the baseball to where it needs to be instead of just trying to rip everything. And that's kind of the nature of what he does. So I'm happy to see him succeed. I'm not necessarily giving him a whole pass on the whole thing. Am I happy the Phillies stuck by their guns and stuck by the guy instead of listening to us? Yeah, because he's had a good month of August. And now, amazingly, he's going to be a part of the what they have in the postseason. So, yeah, things have kind of worked out in that regard. They've given you a platoon. So, credit to the Phillies there. And what was that? It said Lisa that said that?
Yes.
Yeah, so, and Lisa, to your point and to your credit, he's finding the game results on the balls he's hitting hard, which is good to see. There is, the reality of that. I would love to say that his expected numbers are that much better, that we should think that he'd be playing that much better. They're really not. He has hit the ball hard. Just, when teams get a scouting report on where you're hitting the ball and you just keep putting the ball there, eventually they're going to put guys there. Like, adjustment would be nice a bit. It's a good point from Lisa, and I think Lisa's the reason why they kept Kepler around, because he was hitting the ball hard. But there's more that goes into it than just that, I think, at least. Which is why I think we were justified when we were upset with him to be upset with him. Final segment coming up. Phillies, Mets. What do we need tonight? Is it anything? Can you count on anything with Nola? And the steep uphill climb for him to be a part of anything meaningful come October. I'm Ray Dunn taking you through Middays here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Andrew Salciunas.
How much do you think they're going to try to make a little bit more of a concerted effort just to get those guys more involved?
I remember a couple years ago in the opener against Detroit, I think it was, where Devontae Smith, he didn't come away with any catches.
Yeah, the single catch, I remember that. And then they went crazy, remember that?
Week, they just fed him. They just fed him right after that.
Right,
and I think that you're probably going to see some of that. I just got done rewatching that game from last night, and there were opportunities for Brown here and there, but I think that the Dallas did a nice job of, and Sirianni spoke to this after the game, of matching some of the routes. So there was a couple times where you would have, like there's one instance I'm thinking of in particular where A.J. Brown's running a curl route and the safety drops at his depth to take that away, and then Hurts ends up hitting Dallas Goedert underneath. And there was just a lot of that sort of going on. The passing game, maybe it wasn't as spectacular as you hope. I think that Hurts's comments post-game were kind of telling when I asked him about how the operation went with him and Kevin Patullo, and he was mostly glowing about it, but said sometimes you don't want to be reactive. You want to be a little bit more proactive. So I think it's, maybe getting a little bit more on the aggressive side from a passing standpoint might be something that they talk about moving forward. A.J. Brown, obviously a really big part of that. So I think before long we'll see Brown get going.
Yeah. Going forward, how much do you think they're going to let Adoree Jackson kind of figure this out on the field, given the fact they play the Chiefs?
It really kind of speaks to what we did see during the course of the summer training camp, and that was that the CB2 just never got an answer. And as much as they wanted to paint it up, it just never happened. I mean, they wanted the job to go to Keely Ringo, I think, and he didn't grab it. And then Adoree Jackson was the best out of those options, but it's not like he really distinguished himself over the course of those training camp practices or in the preseason. And you saw that Dallas picked on him. And I think that you're not always going to go up against a 1-2 punch at the receiver position that the Cowboys have, but you can be sure that from here on, including in Kansas City, that opposing teams are going to be targeting that spot. And that is a different reality than what the Eagles were operating with last year when you had Darius Slay and you had Quinyon Mitchell, just that's playing at such a high level that it opened so many other things up for the rest of the players and for defense coordinator Vic Fangio. I just looked at the next-gen stats. Adoree Jackson, according to them, allowed 5 receptions for 103 yards on 7 targets, had 2 missed tackles, and, of course, the pass interference right in the end zone there. So it was not a good night for him. And I kind of felt like Jacorian Bennett in the limited snaps, at least from where I was standing, it felt a little bit more controlled when he was in the game.
For us, Unfiltered, coming your way at 2 o'clock. Excited to hear what they've got rolling today. I did see Silvana just walked past the glass and just gave me a thumbs down. So I don't think that the afternoon program of this station was a fan of the Middays program today. But we'll see what they didn't like about it coming up at 2 o'clock.
It didn't help that my team beat hers in fantasy by 1.1 points this week.
It might be the case.
Yeah, I don't think that helped
Might
either.
be the case. I'm pretty sure I won in the work league. But remember, when you check 11 leagues, it's tough to remember which one you won in and which one you did not. So I will have more for you tomorrow on how my entire week shook out for all 11 fantasy football teams that I am a part of. It was looking like a promising week. Feel like we're going to have a winning record coming out this week. So hopefully that stands by the end of the week. How'd you do with your 10 leagues?
I looked briefly. I specifically looked at this one because I knew it was over by the end of Sunday night. Not too hot, I don't think.
Okay, well, maybe we won't bring up yours tomorrow. But
Yeah,
I'm
it's only week
excited
one.
for tonight, not for the football, but for the baseball they played in South Philadelphia. I will be down there at Citizens Bank Park for Phillies Mets. I have not learned my lesson. I will say the Phillies Mets game I attended at Citizens Bank Park this season, I saw a win. Sunday Night Baseball was great. So I'm hoping that it's just a Citi Field thing for me and not a Phillies Mets thing for me. However, not feeling encouraged with Aaron Nola on the mound. I am feeling encouraged because our guy Brian Swanson, the YouTube chat, is going to be there in attendance tonight. I'm hoping to run into him. He's going to get a chance to see the first edition of Everyday Stott. At least I think. Because I'm thinking without Turner, for however long it's going to be, that we will have an Everyday Stott. So I'm excited for Brian. We can actually talk shop a little bit. And Brian, apparently, he says he's 4-0 this year. So, hey, there you go. But with what we're looking at tonight, Aaron Nola, specifically. The first inning struggles are where we are going to be locked into. And I've done the question throughout the show of, like, what would you do if you were showing up late to the game and it was already 5-0 because Nola gave up runs? I'm obviously still going to go. That's obviously my plan. But there is that concern in me that by the time I get there, he's going to have given up the runs, and we're going to have to see what happens. Like, I don't know if I always make the joke with one of my friends, actually a friend who'd be in attendance. It's his idea, but we make the joke back and forth. Like, how different Kyle Kendrick's career would have been if he had an opener. Because, Kendrick's first inning ERA versus the rest of the start, like, if they just had an opener for him, would things have turned out differently? For Aaron Nola, if you had someone take care of that first inning for you, do you feel more comfortable with him 2 through 5, 2 through 6? It's a crazy thing to say given what he's been throughout his entire career, but he has obviously not been able to settle into a groove at the top of lineups. If he was able to get into that groove against the bottom portion of a lineup, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, he goes 4, 5, 6 and is able to try and get it together against that lower portion of the lineup. I don't know. At this point, you're pulling at straws here to try and make things better for you. He can't be a starter in an NLDS for me right now. It's the 3 lefties. That's where I'm going with this. Taijuan Walker, sorry, not also a part of that conversation. If we're going to October pedigree as the difference maker for an NLCS start, I think that's why Nola ends up being Game 4 for me. I remember that Game 4 in 22. I want to say, was it Syndergaard? Might have been Syndergaard. Whoever it was in Game 4 did not last long. Was not long for that game, and they were still able to win that Game 4 because it's chaos at that point. That's probably where I'm leaning to the first time I would see him. I know I said this with Amy last week, and Amy looked at me like I was crazy that they weren't going to put him on that roster. For the NLDS, I just don't know what purpose it serves to have him on that roster. I get it. He's a veteran. I get it. He's been there before. He's making a lot of money for this team. I just don't know what purpose it... Other than, we might pitch him one of these days. Like, I don't really... You only need 3 starters in that series. And to me, having him on that roster, what does it do for you? And again, if they decide it's him over Taijuan Walker, I'm not going to cry tears for Taijuan on that one. I just can't necessarily bring myself to the idea that, he has to be on that NLDS roster. I think if you make it to the NLCS, that's when he gets a start in that Game 4. But otherwise, or if the way the rotation shakes out because of how games go throughout the series, I don't know if you need him for a Game 3. But he's the 4th starter, basically. What I'm saying there. I just can't get to the point where I am starting Aaron Nola in an NLDS, and I'm really hoping he gives me a reason to have him on my roster by the end of September.
Yeah, I know he's had, one pretty good start since he's been back. Maybe you could say 1.5. I don't think it would have qualified as a quality start in that game a couple weeks ago when they put up 18 runs. But he had that bad first inning. I don't think that Nola is going to be on anyone's postseason roster unless it's a family member of his at this point.
But that's the thing. It's not on
For
ours.
NLDS,
But for the Phillies, could you see a world where they put him on that roster? Better yet, could you see a world where they say, hey, he's got postseason pedigree, we're going to have him start game 2, game 3?
I mean, yeah, but all those guys, minus Luzardo, has postseason pedigree now. Like, you've seen Suarez, you've seen Sanchez.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
game 3.
Sanchez has pitched, 7 innings in the postseason before?
Yeah, he's only pitched 7 innings, but he's at least had one start, and he's been your workhorse this whole season.
He's not. Nola's not starting over him, and the way Luzardo's going right now, you're not really able to justify that start, and the way Suarez is going right now, you're not able to justify. Suarez and Luzardo should be given credit for, since Wheeler's gone down, and a little bit before then for Luzardo, they've been really good for you. They should be given credit for that. They have stepped it up. Somebody needed to pick up, a little bit of being that 2-3 guy on this rotation, and they've done that. So the credit has to be given to them for that. Nola is the guy that you hoped would do that, and he is not. But I could see the Phillies organization trying to sell us that he belongs on this postseason roster.
I mean, yeah, you could see him trying to sell it, especially because they've tried to sell us on a couple of things this year. Some have worked, some haven't. Jordan Romano thing, I don't understand why they kept selling us on that. Max Kepler, they were selling us on him having a hard hit rate, and, well, that's worked out since the month of August.
All right, I'm seeing Colby, our guy in the YouTube chat. He's feeling a masterclass tonight from Nola. I hope.
Colby, I hope so.
I hope for your case, man. I can't do it. I know he does it before every Nola start. I can't. I'm trying, man. I tried to be excited when he came back. I tried to, get fired up for it. I can't do it. Tonight, I'll be in attendance for this. And tonight goes back to, and we'll wrap this where I've started so many shows before Phillies Mets. In June, I was filling in that Friday, hosting the show, the weekend they hosted the Mets. And I remember saying it's on the big-time stars to step up. It's on the big-time bats to do a thing. They've been neutralized by the Mets before. Kyle Schwarber specifically, who has not been himself since that 4-home-run game and went into that 4-home-run game in a slump. So really outside of that game where he was handed Cal Quantrill and whoever else the Braves wanted to trot out there to try and get him out, he has not been himself. It's on him to get moving. I know that's a crazy thing to say for an MVP and for someone who's had such a great season, but I'd like to see that the Mets don't fully have the book on him and that he's got something up his sleeve for us. Bryce Harper, it's on him always, but on him to show some life against this Mets team and try and guide this team to, again, I'm just asking for a series split. And then, again, I always ask for a right-handed bat to step up because I never know which one, but like JT getting back to like the hot stretch that he had, Bohm driving in some runs. That grouping, I need that top 4 of the lineup to give me quite a bit here, especially now without Turner, but against this Mets team because the Mets have had the number of this Phillies lineup for quite a while now. And that's kind of what this series is about for me. Even if you get swept, you're still 3 games up the division, which is insane. Don't get swept. Please don't get swept. I can't do that week. I will not be able to do the succession of the week like that. If they lose tonight, we react to it tomorrow about how Nola stunk. Then we come in here Wednesday, how they lost Tuesday. Come in here. Like, I can't do that. Mentally, I'll be drained by Wednesday. And then Friday will just be like a knockout punch to me. I'll be just pain. If you thought I was down bad after they lost 3 in a row in Citi Field, just wait till they lose 4 in a row. They're not going to, though. They're splitting this series. I'm feeling it. Give me a little mojo back. Calm me down. Mets don't gain any ground. Mets might pick up ground the way the Padres are playing because I kind of want that Mets team to get that 5 seed at this point. Let the Padres fall to 6. Padres, Dodgers, let the NL West battle it out 3-6 and then figure it out after that. And then let the Brewers, Mets, and Cubs dance over on the other side. I'll be okay with it. Because you're not getting The Cubs are going to be the 4. Brewers are likely going to be the 1. Phillies are in a really good position to be the 2. Dodgers at 3, and the Padres are slipping right now. So, it kind of looks like the best case scenario for me. Let's split 2 here. Hopefully the Dodgers don't get any ground to you. This 10-day stretch is really important for you. It starts with 4 against the Mets, and please just give me a little bit of sense of calm by taking 2 against them.
The Dodgers to start the week in a 3-game series have the Rockies at home.
Crap. A resurgent Rockies team, I might add. Mostly because the Padres made them that way.
They have still 2-8 in their last 10 though. The Rockies.
Yeah, no, I think they only got the first one of that 3-game set. I was just surprised they got any of that 3-game set. Yeah, not good. Not good. That's what conversations we had throughout like the last couple weeks about the strength of schedule the Dodgers had down the stretch. It's not great. Not great for the Phillies. Great for them. All right, what else we have on the text line?
All right, on the text line, let's head back to that. Talking about more so like the penalties, not necessarily the Jaylen Carter thing, but one person checking in saying celebrating is one thing, but don't belittle and get personal. Players and people take it too far, and keep in mind, kids watch and look up to these athletes.
I understand. Some of that is kind of, I just want like some of it's kind of like who you're watching with. Like, I can imagine, and we had this conversation with the whole bat flip thing. Like, my dad and I had that conversation a number of times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey man, like, you know, Nolan Smith making that sack in the pros, very emotional moment for him. Like, he reacts the way he does, but he's also Nolan Smith in the NFL. You're Ray Dunn at Upper Providence Little League. You know, like there's a difference. Some of that ability to react is earned. And I feel like that's something that we kind of forget when we say, like, the kids are watching. Kids should know that you kind of earn that type of reaction. You know? That
I agree with you to some level, but I understand where they're coming from. Specific, like the spitting thing.
Oh, yeah, that thing.
They understand.
Yeah.
The flexing, we see it in the NBA, too. You're not allowed to get in the guy's face and flex either. Like, this isn't necessarily a new rule in sports. The NBA kind of went with it first, and now the NFL's kind of following suit.
It's like, you really going to call that right there? Come on. Taunt.
I know, it's weak. It is weak, but it's not the first time we've seen it.
Yeah. No, it's not the first time we've seen it. It's just going to bother me when we're not allowed to have any fun around here. Like, it's the NFL. Part of it's entertainment, you know?
The No Fun League.
That's all we got for you today. Coming up, Unfiltered. Thanks a lot, Sean Rodman. I'm Ray Dunn. This has been the Midday Show. Talk again real soon right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now on 97.5 The Fanatic Sport.
How much do you think they're going to try to make a little bit more of a concerted effort just to get those guys more involved?
I remember a couple years ago in the